And I knew this would cause a lot of controversy. I know that. But I didn't think it would get to this magnitude.
James, the things that I said in my past video are not all true.
I also want to give a quick shout out to Sugar Bear Hair.
I'm having one of those days where it's like smacked in my face.
Homeboy is exclusive to her?
I'm just like, oh my God, time and place.
Boys have been a topic that I've talked a lot about, and it's a topic that I wish I hadn't.
James then saw this as an opportunity to manipulate me as a person.
There is a lot of stuff behind the scenes that I need to share with you guys.
And I told him basically that it's not your story to tell.
Do you ever just like have time to just dive in?
On May 21st of 2019, YouTube decided to make a big change on their platform, and the change was in direct response to a scandal that was happening and being covered by mainstream media. That scandal involved 3 people in our beauty space, predominantly: James Charles, Tati Westbrook, and Jeffree Star. Essentially, what people were doing was they were using live counts on places like Social Blade, watching people's subscriber counts going up and down to see who was winning this particular scandal. YouTube did not like that, so therefore they cut off people's ability to view that information. That change is still in effect today. Time magazine even covered the story, and in that article, they talked about how our beauty space was one of the most powerful, not only due to the sales that the beauty space generated for many different companies, but because we were, quote, ripe for drama. Were they wrong? I don't think so. But this is the thing, my friends, is that as we were watching these subscriber counts go up and down, I mean, hundreds of subscribers lost and gained within seconds, and millions lost and gained in days. We were watching this. We didn't really know what was happening or whether we were going the right direction or not. Were we subscribing and unsubscribing from the right people? And there was no way we could have known that, because the story of what actually happened during this time period was told in many different pieces by many different people over the next 3 years. And if you know me, you know I am a very linear thinker. I like everything to be laid out. It's the neurodivergent in me. So when I was researching for this section of the James Charles Behind the Controversy series, it took me a really long time, but I was determined to put this story in order to take all of the voices, compile them into a timeline. When they gave a date, I filled it into the timeline, and that's the way I'm going to be telling you this story today. All of the voices all together in order, telling a complete story, and I am very interested to see if you are like me and your opinion about what happened during what we called Dramgeddon 2, if your opinion changed in the same ways that mine did. This, my friends, is the story of pride, betrayal, arrogance, and yes, it's the story of vitamins. But like with parts 1 and 2 of the series, we are going to focus mostly on James Charles and how his patterns of behavior continued during this time period. But we're also going to focus on the other characters in this story and how they contributed to, honestly, why I think James Charles still has a platform today, despite all of the things that we now know about who he presents himself to be. Because when Tati Westbrook uploaded Bye Sister, there was so much that we didn't know was going to happen. This is Behind the Controversy, James Charles, Part 3, and it's starting right now. Hello, my friend. Welcome back to my channel. If you have been here before, if you are new here, hi. You have stumbled upon the channel called JENLUV, and on this channel we mostly talk makeup news. Every single weekend we talk about what happened in the industry that past week. On Fridays I've been reserving that time for more of a deep dive, for looking into either something that's happening right now that I find interesting, that I think you might find interesting, or going into the past and revisiting a situation and looking at it with different eyes, analyzing it from a different perspective so that we can take that information and we can synthesize it and use that information to make choices in the future, either about who we want to support, who we want to watch, or who we don't. If you haven't watched parts 1 and 2 of this series, no worries, you don't have to have watched parts 1 and 2. But I do want to give you a quick recap of where we left off. In part 1, we established James's come up. Where did he start? How did he become popular? And what were the tactics he used to become popular? And what we talked about was that his career was essentially built on a lie, and his subsequent growth was largely due to alignment and social climbing through collaborations with other influencers and celebrities. In doing so many collaborations with popular people, it gave him kind of a celebrity by association that gave him enough of a clout, enough of a relevance in order to get people to tune into the content he was creating. He also used his 15-year-old brother, and I use the term used because that's what I believe. I believe he used his 15-year-old brother in order to gain a different audience, an audience of straight young girls who would find Ian attractive, and this became his core base of fans. In part 2, we went over, count them, 12 different scandals that James got himself into between the dates of March 2018 and April of 2019. In all of this, we established patterns of behavior. And this gave us a picture of who James was at the time, or at least who he presented himself to be through his actions. This is what we learned. That James likes to look at life like a game, like an escape room, like something to be won. And the social media game is won by gaining powerful friends, fans, and money. Dating to James is also a game where he expresses his strong attraction to straight men, but he calls them boys. In a video, James was not afraid to tell a story, a very explicit story of a conversation that he had privately with a guy that was in a relationship with a girl. After having that very private conversation, the guy ends up rejecting James, and in retaliation, James tells his girlfriend exactly what happened between them.
Somehow the conversation shifted to like his body and how he wanted to look better, and then like to relationships and asking if I've ever been in a relationship, and then him asking about my hookups, which I've also all ended very, very poorly, to then him saying, oh, I feel like you'd give a very good, if you know where I'm going with that. So I was like, yes, I do.
Thought this kid had a girlfriend.
Well, he does. That's where the story gets interesting.
That's messed up.
Yeah, I am not doing anything with you if you have a girlfriend. And you know what he said to me?
I don't.
He literally said, and I quote, she's a huge fan of you, and if I told her, she would not even care.
Oh, so she's a sister.
After hearing this, obviously I was like very, very shook, but I assumed because he said that his girlfriend wouldn't care and like knows that he's apparently not straight, that they were in some type of like open relationship type of situation. So after hearing that, I was in it to win it. But I will say that this very long and late night ended with him FaceTiming me and doing his business.
Gotta be kidding.
Please
tell me you're joking.
I'm not kidding. After that night, fast forward, and he completely ghosted me for 2 months straight. So I sent him a really, really long message that basically said, if you do not want to talk anymore, I understand why, and I do not blame you. And to that message, he literally sent back the rudest reply. It was his birthday a few days ago.
Happy birthday, man.
No, not happy birthday. And he came up on my Explore page on Instagram because I never actually followed him in the first place. But I saw a picture of him and his girlfriend still happily together, and I noticed that he had unfollowed me on Instagram. And I was like, oh, this is rude. But I had sent him a happy birthday text, which is my second message to him over the entire process of the thing. He ignored it, did not reply. And at that point I was like, oh, it is game over. You played with the wrong gal. I sent a sister a message on Instagram asking her to FaceTime me ASAP because it was digging at me and I really just wanted to tell her the truth tea. Basically, I told the girlfriend the full story from start to finish in full detail, which was so incredibly hard for me.
And he says all of this out loud in a video that is still live on his channel. He was also not afraid to make straight guys uncomfortable, even his friend Grayson Dolan and his celebrity crush Shawn Mendes. Now, that's very important to note that neither one of them has specifically said out loud that the way James treated them made them uncomfortable. But either they're very good actors or their body language really does say that they were uncomfortable. And that's especially in the case of Grayson. There are entire compilations of James making Grayson uncomfortable over and over and over again. And I don't think he's acting. It's up for interpretation. I don't think he's acting. He also showed that he had an extreme overconfidence, and he showed this in his interactions with original makeup guru Marlena Stell. When Marlena got a deal with Netflix to participate in a documentary, James came out very publicly and said that he would be better for the Netflix documentary than Marlena was. When the documentary came out, it was all about counterfeit makeup, and Marlena was in it to just talk about the growth of the makeup industry because she had been in it for so long. James would not have been a good person for that, but because James thought he knew what the Netflix series was going to be about, he assumed he would have been a better fit and was very public about calling Marlena out and saying that he was better for the job. If you are interested in any or all of those stories, I highly recommend that you check out parts 1 and 2. They will be linked down below because it really does set up the scene for who James had presented himself to be up until April 2019. So as we move into this story that we're talking about today, it's very important to remember literally how famous James was at this time. And I don't say famous lightly. He wasn't just creating regular content on YouTube. His collaborations with celebrities had increased dramatically. So at this point, along with all of the celebrities he had collaborated with in the last parts, he has now collaborated with Antonio Garza, the Ace family, Jeffree Star, Liza Koshy, a joint video with Kim Kardashian and her makeup artist Mario De Ivanovic, Kylie Jenner, Mr. Kate, David Dobrik and the Vlog Squad, Jenna Marbles and Iggy Azalea. He was collaborating with some really big names at the time. These videos were getting between 8 and 45 million views apiece. That is a lot of views. He literally did not have a video during that period of time that was under 3 million views. When there are so many big YouTubers, we can kind of get used to these numbers. A million views is really hard to get. And to be consistently getting 3 million views and up to 45 million views on one video, that's a lot. So needless to say, James was doing very well both socially and financially. The very last story that I told in part 2 was about James's attendance at Coachella, which 17 magazine dubbed Buttchella, because both outfits that he wore to Coachella very much showed his butt. But that was just Coachella weekend 1. Coachella actually takes place on 2 consecutive weekends. Weekend 1 for James was all about hanging out with his friends and exploring a potential relationship with a young man named Gage Gomez. But things were about to get a lot worse for James. A lot worse. Worse than anyone could have expected. And believe it or not, it didn't start with vitamins. The problem with how this story rolled out to the public was, like I was saying in the intro, it all rolled out in pieces over many years from many different voices, and everybody had different parts of the story. One thing I didn't realize before I sat down and organized all of this was that things were brewing long before Tati uploaded her famous Bye Sister video. What we saw in January 2019 was a very happy friendship between James, Tati, and Jeffree Star. On the outside, we all thought that they were friends. To be fair, James and Tati probably thought they were all friends. But according to an influencer named Cam Lester, something else was happening. In a video uploaded way later, Cam said that he was with Jeffree Star. And while he was hanging out with him, Jeffree was on a phone call with another influencer named Shane Dawson. And in this phone call, the two men were bad-mouthing James. Shane had already completed one redemption documentary for Jeffree Star that was called The Secret World of Jeffree Star, and the two had become very fast friends. They were such good friends that even at this point, Shane and Jeffree were working together to develop a collaboration eyeshadow palette for Jeffree Star Cosmetics. They would eventually be called the Conspiracy Palette. According to Cam, he was sitting there listening to Jeffree and Shane talk badly about James, and he was conflicted because he was friends with Jeffree. He had met James before, they had always had a friendly relationship, but his friendship was really with Jeffree. So he had to decide, was he going to tell James that Jeffree and Shane were talking bad about him? And he decided not to, which he would later say that he regretted.
And I remember Shane Dawson called and he was going off about James Charles and something and telling, just cursing James out. And I was just kind of taken back because I've never seen Shane Dawson like that. And he was just going in on James. 3 months later, James had his scandal. And I always remember holding that and being like, OMG, maybe I could have came to James and maybe gave him a warning or told him something happened or something was about to happen, and I felt it. And I always felt a little guilty for not ever saying anything or confessing to James because he helped me in the beginning, and I felt like I wasn't a true friend, and I really am apologetic towards James for not speaking up and not having the courage at the time to speak up for him, because I knew 3 months before he had that scandal, something bad was going to happen.
Now, Cam was not clear about the actual date of when this happened. We don't know if this was early February, mid-February, late February, and there's a big reason why this matters. And it's because on February 14th, the birthday dinner took place. You know the birthday dinner, right?
I'm just like, oh my God, time and place. And you did it at my birthday dinner.
If you do not know, please indulge me as I give you all of the details. What is better than celebrating your birthday surrounded by friends and family? I guess that depends on who your friends and family are, right? The star of this birthday dinner was none other than Tati Westbrook herself. She was celebrating her 37th birthday. Tati was at the top of her game in 2019. She had launched a vitamin company called Halo Beauty with the hair, skin, and nail supplement, and had recently launched a kiwi vitamin, and that was supposed to be to help your skin to slow the aging process from the inside out. Her YouTube videos at the time were earning her about 1 million views, sometimes a little less, sometimes a little more than 1 million views per video. And it wasn't like she had to have a banger to get 1 million views, like this was a sensational video to get 1 million views. Oh no, these were typical videos. So for example, Sisters Do My Makeup got over 1 million views. Awful Products Save You Cash got over 1 million views. These were just regular Tati videos. If you're not familiar with Tati, it's important to understand what Tati did and how she did it. Tati jumped into the makeup review space when people were just starting to tire of tutorials. People had kind of figured out how they like to do their makeup. There were still, of course, people watching tutorials, but makeup reviews started becoming very popular, and that's when Tati became very popular. And the way that she reviewed things is she was very thorough, she's very talented, and she also presented herself to be extremely honest. When beauty reviews boomed, Tati boomed too. In preparation for this video, I watched hours of Tati's content from back in 2019, and What I noticed was that unlike James and other people that were growing really fast at the time, Tati's strategy was really to just provide content that her audience would love. She didn't have celebrities coming on her channel, and she wasn't doing a lot of collabs with other influencers. And the other thing I noticed is that even though she was very popular, she wasn't going on the same brand trips that all of the other influencers were going on. She wasn't tripping with Tarte or beaching with Benefit or whatever all of the other influencers of her size were doing. Tati was just kind of on an island by herself. I don't even think she had a Morphe code because all she does is recommend James's Morphe code, which is odd because I feel like every other big influencer of the time had and was regularly using Morphe and talking about their Morphe code and earning commission. Tati wasn't. And the reason why I stress this is I think that this being on an island, this not being invited to events, this lack of social connection with her peers is what led to her friendship with Jeffree Star. The pairing was weird, okay? It was weird for a lot of us because Jeffree seemed to be the polar opposite of who Tati seemed to be. Jeffree had a racist past. He was very materialistic. He was known for going off on people and being mean to people, outright laughing in people's faces as they went through horrible times. Like that was who Jeffree presented himself to be, where Tati was kind of like your aunt or your big sister helping you to pick out makeup. She never got herself into drama. She just stayed in her little corner and she reviewed her makeup with a smile on her face, with her beautiful background and her talented makeup looks. And it really was extremely different. So when the two of them became friends, people were confused. For their first collaboration, one video went live on Jeffree's channel, one went live on Tati's channel. On Jeffree's channel, they got ready together on a private jet. And in the comment section of that video, the audience was very welcoming to Tati. They were excited to see her. They were happy to see her. They were celebrating this new friendship. Not the same. Over on Tati's channel, people were not happy at all. Jeffree's first video on Tati's channel was trying out a $5,000 face mask with her, and yeah, her audience was not happy. The like to dislike ratio, which used to be public, was way low for Tati. Tati ended up turning the comments off, but I remember very vividly that Tati's audience was very upset. They had seen Jeffree be racist in the past. They had seen Jeffree be cruel to people, and she was just gonna have him in her house. They were just gonna be friends, like it wasn't even a big deal. Her audience was not happy. Tati would later explain why she became friends with Jeffree Star, and it may not be why you think. So now that we've established that, let's talk about the birthday dinner. All of her friends and family from all over the country flew out to celebrate her birthday at a restaurant called John Howie.
It was my birthday, and I had my very first surprise party that just like... I could cry thinking about it right now. In fact, when I was surprised initially, I hit the ground and I was crying for a second, and then I realized oh my gosh, don't be that weirdo that is on the floor crying. Cause no joke, I have footage of it. It's never before seen. You will not find this on Instagram. My husband is the best. He's so the best. He pulled off the most incredible surprise party in Seattle and had people that I adore and love, in Seattle attend, but also people from LA flew. A lot of you guys saw on IG that Jeffree and James were there, and it was the best ever. It was so much fun. And we ended up the day after the party going to the Space Needle. Everyone's kind of cheering for, Sister James and Jeffree, and they spot him, or they spot both of them, and everybody's kind of going wild. And I just have always been that person to kind of fall back. I've known my role quite a bit, and I've been around long enough that I've hung out with big YouTubers before, and I've always kind of been the small fry. I've been the one to kind of oh, let me have you have your moment, and I'll hang back here. And it was just the sweetest thing ever to, in my hometown, look over the balcony and have people singing happy birthday for me.
Happy birthday, dear Tati.
My grandma was there, and I have pictures of her and Jeffrey because at the senior living center, like, she watches Jeffree Star and loves James Charles. My whole family loves James. Like, they got to know him at the wedding, and just, it was such a good time.
And the way that the story is told was that Jeffrey and James were sitting next to each other. Jeffrey and Tati say that the conversation that they were having got sexual, that it got inappropriate and loudly inappropriate in front of all of Tati's friends and family.
So talking about that at the dinner table with his parents was kind of weird. Him talking explicitly about sex and things that he would like to do. And like, I mean, like, I was just like, I was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Like, I am used to this around, you know, everyone else, but not his parents. Like, I thought around his parents that he would not behave this way. Like, it was just like, no big deal. Like, sucking dick and cock. Like, I'm just like, oh my God, time and place. And I made excuses for you then. You were talking in detail about things you wanted to do to the waiter. And when I said, James, he's straight, your response was, doesn't matter, I'm a celebrity. So freaking gross. And you said that in front of my family.
Things further escalated at my birthday. Every time James Charles's back was turned, Jeffrey would tell me that James Charles was out of control. He even texted and called me the following morning to apologize for James Charles's behavior at my birthday dinner and how embarrassed he was for me.
James says that it never got inappropriate. What the inappropriateness seems to surround was that James spotted some candy. Figurative candy out in the distance, and that candy was named Sam. Sam would later be known as the waiter from Seattle, but I have something to share with you, my friends. That's actually not true. Number one, he wasn't a waiter. He was a busboy. The other one is that the restaurant was not in Seattle. It was in a city called Bellevue. So instead of the waiter from Seattle, he is actually the busboy from Bellevue. Let's get it all straight. So anyway, James spots this guy and he's like, oh, this guy is really cute. So he tries to figure out how he's going to get Sam's attention. He starts talking to the waiters. He starts talking to other people to see whether Sam might be interested in connecting with him. Sam says later that in order to maintain professionalism, he kept his distance. But whatever happened at that table, that was the catalyst for Jeffrey really turning on James and saying that he was a terrible person later on. It was whatever happened at that dinner table. It was what Tati said later was mortifying, how he had embarrassed her at her birthday dinner. That was what was happening right then. This was the thunder rolling for the big storm that was going to be Dramgeddon 2. So as the dinner ends, everyone goes back to their separate hotel rooms. And what Tati and Jeffrey didn't know that James was about to find out was that Sam was actually interested in him. Sam ended up finding James on Instagram and DMing him that he was interested. Or at least that's what Sam told James. So James, very excited that Sam wants to get to know him better, invites Sam over to his hotel room. Sam is very nervous. He's never been with a guy before, and he just feels a little uncomfortable. He's nervous. But James reassures him and says, hey, you don't have to do anything you don't want to do. I really just want you to come over and hang out. Please just come over. Let's just spend some time together. So according to both of them, they made out. Through DM receipts, we know that whatever happened in that hotel room was consensual. Maybe Sam didn't really enjoy it. He wasn't really into it, but he even admits later that he gave James no impression that he wasn't having fun or that he didn't want to participate. He was actively participating. Later on, Sam actually admits that his friends and family were encouraging him to start this relationship with James, and that it had been all about manipulation from from the very beginning. But James didn't know any of that, and he continued to talk to Sam every single day, eventually inviting Sam to come out to Los Angeles to celebrate Sam's birthday. Of course, James would pay his way and make sure he got there and everything, and Sam looks like initially said yes, but then changed his mind. And to hurt James, then went on his Twitter and expressed his feelings. He said, "I officially give up. I'm sitting sobbing in my hotel room at 8 a.m. when I have to be on set in an hour. This is no one's fault but my own because my dumb continues to go for the same type of insecure cute boys, and it gets me hurt every single time. I fucking hate myself." That morning, he also put up an Instagram story. He was clearly very upset, and the text on the Instagram story read, "Good morning, world. Don't you love waking up to a text message that ruins your entire day before it even begins? Same." But don't feel too sad for James because he wasn't putting all of his eggs in the Sam basket. He still had an on and off again relationship with Gage Gomez going on that had started back in January. Remember, Gage Gomez is the guy that he goes to Coachella with. And they both say that they had this on again, off again relationship. And it's possible that James and Gage were in the off position when he was going after Sam. Because James really does genuinely seem sad in this moment, and I think if he had Gage waiting in the wings, he wouldn't have been this sad in this moment. We can't forget, though, that there are other characters in the story that are out there living their lives, so let's pay a little bit of attention to them. On February 26th, so this is 12 days after the birthday dinner, Shane Dawson flew out to Jeffree Star's house, and they start beginning to record for the next series, the next redemption story of Jeffree Star called The Beautiful World of Jeffree Star. In March, Tati takes her friendship with Jeffree Star to a potential business relationship in that Tati goes to the Killer Merch offices. Killer Merch is currently Jeffree's merch company, and they talk about possibly carrying Tati's merch over at Killer Merch. And while they're there, Tati later says that Jeffree was talking a lot of shit about James at the time.
I even met with Jeffree in his Killer Merch offices in March to discuss Jeffree developing and managing my merch. And as we were touring his warehouse that was filled with sisters' apparel, it seemed that all he could do was speak poorly of James Charles.
On March 15th, Jeffree had something really bad happen to him. His warehouse was broken into and thousands of units were stolen. It was highlighter palettes, lip liners, and his new concealer. Jeffree thought at the time, I don't know if he still feels that way, but at the time he said he believed that it was an inside job, somebody that had worked for his company before because they had sawed a hole in the roof and gone. It's a strange story, but anyway, he was going through this situation where he had thousands and thousands of units of his products stolen. In early April, Tati got closer with Shane Dawson. She actually went over to his house and they had a really deep conversation where Tati says that she basically poured out her heart to Shane. She was hoping that maybe one day he would tell her story of the things that she had been through because Shane was into doing all of these different documentaries on different people. She told him really personal details about her life, and Shane was very empathetic and said that he was an empath and that he felt her pain and he comforted her and made her feel very safe.
Shane came over one afternoon in April and I opened up and shared things that I've only shared with my closest of friends. I shared that I had been the victim of sexual assault. I spoke about my faith and told him how deeply I feel for others. He shared with me that he was an empath and that he could feel all of my pain. He pledged his unending friendship and loyalty to me forever in this life and in the next one.
At this point, Shane gains Tati's complete trust, even though they haven't known each other very long. Meanwhile, James Charles has moved on from Sam, and that switch that was flipped to off for Gage Gomez has clearly been flipped to on. Gage is telling James that he is bi-curious, and James is excited about this and offers to fly Gage out to see him, to go to Coachella with him and his friends. James had acquired these artist passes for weekend one from SeatGeek, and he had enough to include Gage in his friend group for the event. Are you ready for Buttchella? did talk a little bit about this in the last segment, but I want to give you a little more information that I have found since then that's going to set us up for what is to come after. It's important to know the dates of this and how it all shakes out. So the first weekend, the one where Gage went, was April 12th to April 14th, 2019 at Buttchella, which, I mean, if you've got a nice butt, if you can show your butt, I'm not shaming the buttness. It was there. It was hard to miss. But James had an absolute right to wear whatever outfit he wanted to, but I also have the right to go with 17 magazine and call it Buttchella. So at Buttchella, Gage is seen kissing James on the cheek. They're seen locking arms. They're showing each other a small amount of affection publicly. Publicly, things seem to be going well, but once they get alone, it seems like James was upset about something. He was crying, and Gage asked him, "Is the reason why you're crying because I won't kiss you?" And James said yes, so Gage kissed him. James says he wasn't just crying because Gage wouldn't kiss him, it was because he was dealing with a bunch of other things. This is interesting though, because it does seem like James might have been manipulating Gage in this, trying to get Gage to engage in a romantic relationship, because he said that Gage was sending him mixed messages, and that was part of the reason why he was upset. But James insists that Gage kissed him of his own free will multiple times. But by April 16th, 2 days after the conclusion of Coachella, James and Gage are officially over. I put these text messages on the screen last time, but I'll throw them up again just in case. The gist of it is that Gage is insisting, "I was bi-curious. I wasn't sure if I liked you. That's why I went. And when I got there and, everything was happening, I realized that I just wasn't interested in having a relationship with you." And James is insisting that Gage is lying about that he just used James in order to get tickets to Coachella. And they just kind of go back and forth like that, sticking to their individual stories. Gage actually asks James if they can have a face-to-face conversation about it, but James refuses. So James, being upset that this relationship that he had hoped for was now over, sees this tweet. And the tweet is a few pictures, a little collage of James with Gage showing affection publicly at Coachella, asking James if he's in a new relationship. James is hurt and he lashes out publicly. He says, "Nope, unfortunately, I'm still very single. This boy played me for months on end and is a disgusting con artist. I'm thankful I had my friends with me." So Gage sees this and he is very upset, because obviously he doesn't think that he's a disgusting con artist, and he can't believe that James is tweeting this about him. Like, there's a picture of him and James is tweeting that he is a disgusting con artist, and Gage is super upset about this. He texts James and he's like, "You know what? You said this about me publicly and I need to clear my name. So I'm going to be making a video about this and telling everybody what happened." And James is like, "Oh, don't do that. Please don't do that. You're going to make everything worse. Please don't make a video." And Gage is like, "I have to make a video because you slandered my name. So now I have to say my side because people are going to think I'm a disgusting con artist, and I'm not." That conversation ends, and James is, of course, very upset. And being upset, he decides he wants to go have some fun. He wants to go to Coachella weekend 2, but there's a big problem. And the problem is he doesn't have artist passes. SeatGeek only gave him artist passes for the first weekend. He doesn't even have tickets for the second weekend. So he contacts SeatGeek and he's like, "Hey," or his management team, somebody contacts SeatGeek, tries to see if they have artist passes for weekend 2. They don't. All they have is VIP tickets. And what we need to understand about the difference between the tickets is that artist passes cannot be purchased. They are only given to people who have a connection. So maybe it's the friends and family of someone that's performing. Maybe it's friends and family of the organizers. Maybe it's just other celebrities that are attending. But you cannot purchase these. When you have an artist pass, you have a pass to go to a artist pass only area with only people that have those passes. A VIP ticket can be purchased by anyone. It's just an upgraded public ticket. But James and his friends really want to experience Coachella without Gage. They feel like the situation with Gage completely ruined weekend 1. So they want to go weekend 2 without Gage and just go and have fun. So they accept the VIP tickets from SeatGeek. But when they get there, they realize that might not have been the best idea, because there are a lot of people that are fans of James in the VIP area, and they are all mobbing him. James starts to feel unsafe. This is all according to James's recount. James starts to feel unsafe. So he's thinking, what can I do? He has two choices. He can either leave or he can figure out a way to get an artist pass.
A lot of people are like, what was he supposed to do? It's dangerous. It's like, leave, go home. It's a couple days of your life. It'll happen again next year. Bring security next time.
He doesn't want to leave because he really wants to be at Coachella with his friends. So he's like, okay, who do I know that can get me an artist pass? Nikita Dragon. Nikita might be able to get me an artist pass because I know she's here with Sugar Bear Hair, which was a very popular social media gummy vitamin company. Nikita was there with Sugar Bear Hair. So he's like, okay, I'll text Nikita and I'll ask her, maybe Sugar Bear Hair can get us artist passes as well and get us out of here to safety. So he texts Nikita. Nikita hooks James up with the Sugar Bear Hair team. The Sugar Bear Hair team agrees to give James the artist passes, but on one condition. He has to upload one Instagram story with a swipe up to purchase promoting their new sleep vitamins. We don't know if James was thinking about Tati in that moment or not. All we know is that James accepted the deal. So James stays at weekend 2, has a great time with his friends with the artist passes provided by Sugar Bear Hair. He goes home and goes about his life, but he knows he needs to upload his video. And at this point, we do know that he is thinking about Tati and how this swipe up is going to affect her. So he texts her and he's like, hey mom, because he called her mom. Hey mom, I have this video that I have to do for Sugar Bear Hair. They saved me at Coachella and I told them I would do this. Tati was very, very upset about this. She was very disappointed. And James, at that point, he had to do it because he had already agreed to it. He'd already accepted what they had given him. And now it was his time to give it back. And Tati's whole point was, why didn't you just leave rather than stab me in the back? And this is where I want to interject some of my opinion because I have been watching so much of these people's content and I've watched these videos with a fine-tooth comb, really attending to what's happening here. And I think that the crux of why James didn't leave was that Tati and James were not friends. I'll say that again. Tati and James were not friends. They had a different type of relationship. Tati even said that she was more of a mentor to James than a friend.
Like, I always envisioned that he would grow up. At some point, we'd kind of meet up as friends because he would be an adult. I wrapped as much love as I could around this kid, more from like a parental stance than like a best friend stance.
But I don't think she really internalized what that truly meant. So for example, if you think about the way you would treat a parent or a teacher is different than the way you would treat an actual friend of yours. Tati's 37. James is 19 years old. He is not thinking of Tati as a friend. That doesn't mean he didn't care about her. It was just a different type of relationship. James might have been thinking in the moment, yeah, she's going to be upset at first, but she'll get over it. It'll be fine. She cares about me unconditionally. She's mom. She's my mentor. She can't be that upset. She's got to understand I'm just out there living my best life. Like, why? Like, I understand she's going to be mad, but she'll be fine. She'll get over it. She didn't get over it. And I think it was because Tati's expectations for James were way too high. Tati was treating James as if he was a fellow 37-year-old instead of a 19-year-old. She expected him to behave like a full-grown, fully formed brained adult. And he wasn't. He just wasn't. So James uploads his Sugar Bear Hair swipe up video on Instagram and he mentions the hair, skin, and nail vitamins, but he mostly focuses on the sleep vitamins.
All right, sisters, we are officially back home. I am alive and well. The dust is gone. I showered this morning and I'm still not sick. Fingers crossed that it stays that way. Knock on frickin' wood. I am not trying to die because I have a lot going on the next few days, but yeah, hope everyone's having a beautiful Monday and an amazing start to their brand new week. I also want to give a quick shout out to Sugar Bear Hair. I met their team weekend one at Coachella, and they really helped me and my friends out with sister security because it was crazy.
Hello, editing Jen here. I realized something as I was rewatching this clip. When Tati talks about in Bye Sister that James had over a week to tell her about the Sugar Bear Hair sponsorship, this is why.
And, you know, James Charles, he had 9 days after Coachella to talk to me. He knows where I live. It's not far from him. He could have come face to face and chatted with me because he knew that this would hurt me. Brands know what they're doing. And that leads me to believe that this was orchestrated beforehand, but he had an emotional conflict because of me and promises he made to me behind the scenes. So he had to come up with a very clever story and didn't tell me right when he got back, but after the little bit was posted on their launch day. You, I'm sure, hadn't tried the product for more than a week because they offered you that deal on the spot at Coachella, and 9 days later you had the story. So you hadn't even tried it for a full month.
This is why she got confused, because in the actual sponsorship, James says, I met the Sugar Bear Hair team weekend one.
I met their team weekend one at Coachella, and they really helped me and my friends out with sister security.
But what he doesn't say is that they didn't help him weekend one, they helped him weekend two. So that's why Tati was confused, and why James, when he comes out with No More Lies, which we'll talk about in just a minute, why he says he only had a couple of days to tell her, which was the actual truth.
Despite what Tati said in her video, this whole situation was definitely not a big scheme that was orchestrated beforehand. It really did happen on the spot. The Sugar Bear Hair team texted me the proposal right away. No money was involved, and with no time to negotiate, in a panic, I signed, and that was that on that. On Monday, April 22nd, which was one day after Coachella, I was due to post my stories based on my contract. And up until that moment, I honestly had not thought about the fact that Tati was a Sugar Bear Hair competitor. And in that moment, I thought that as a friend, she deserved a courtesy text to let her know the context of the sponsorship and everything that was going on.
But I can understand why Tati was confused based on what James just said in the sponsorship. All right, I just wanted to clarify that. Let's get back to the video.
You guys probably already know about their iconic hair vitamins, but they just came out with brand new vegan sleep vitamins. And first of all, they taste so bomb. But most importantly, I've been dealing with a lot of anxiety recently, and it always comes late at night when I'm laying in bed thinking, which is not fun or fresh. So I've been taking these 30 minutes before bed, and they've been really, really helping. So if you guys want to check them out, you can swipe up.
Meanwhile, while James is uploading his video and upsetting Tati, Gage fulfilled on his promise to upload a video talking about what happened between him and James. It's very short and it's very to the point.
The purpose of making this is I just wanted to speak my side. There's been some lies, false allegations, and more importantly, slanders. And it's gotten to the point where my friends and family are involved, so that is why I'm making this video. There was a tweet made about me, and it was slanderous, and the person who made this tweet obviously realized that. And maybe if they didn't realize that, they understood that it was aggressive and maybe the wrong thing to do, and they deleted it. I'm not sure if everyone knows that it was deleted, but it was. I have photographs, this other person has photographs. If I wanted to be a cloud chaser, I would be releasing all of those things, but that's just not what I want to do, and that wasn't my intentions.
But James may not have known at the time that Gage had uploaded this video, and he may not have known in that moment what Tati was going to do very publicly next, because he was actually hopping on a short flight to San Francisco for some very exciting meetings. When he lands, he sees Tati's Instagram story. It is a lengthy Instagram story of Tati very hurt.
Hey guys, who is having a crappy day? Raise your hand. Right now. I just wanted to hop on. I don't even really know why. I never get in these moods to just like vent or do a rant or anything like that, but I'm literally sitting here in my studio like I can't film. And this never happens to me, where I feel like I'm here, I know what I should be doing, I should be working, I should film, and I just can't because I'm stressed out. And
I feel really lost, and I feel in my community especially, like I feel really lonely. And through this whole journey of YouTube, I feel like I have been someone who's been super supportive to my friends, and it's been really crap to feel like, not that you should do things to get support, but like, you know, we should support one another. That's how it should be. And, you know, I'm having one of those days where it's like smacked in my face of what's what, and having to take a look at things and realize what they are and not wanting to realize what they are. When you do so much for people in your life and they not only don't return the favor, but they just don't even see you. Like, I get it. I can get it. I'm just so upset. I feel really used, and that's the bad part of Hollywood. Welcome to business. Everybody says what they need to say and uses who they need to use to get ahead, and I have had about enough. That's all you can do sometimes, is take a deep breath, vent it out, talk to your friends, have a cry, suck it up, stand up, move past.
So fans that are watching this friendship closely put 2 and 2 together, and they start tagging James. Like, is she talking about you? Is this about you, James? Is this about you, James? Is this about you, James? And James knows it's about him. And Tati knows it's about him, even though she didn't say James' name directly. Pretty much everybody knows it's about James. So James, now getting off his plane, he's in a panic and he's like, oh my gosh, this is terrible. Tati's so hurt. I need to talk to her. So he texts Tati, and Tati won't text him back. So he texts Tati's husband, James. Now, for the sake of this video, because they're both named James, it's going to get really confusing really fast. So from here on, I'm going to call Tati's husband JW for James Westbrook. I don't think he goes by that. That's not his name. But I just need us to be very clear who we're talking about. James is always going to be James Charles. JW will always be Tati's husband, James. It's just for clarity purposes. So he's texting Tati. She's not texting him back. So he texts JW and is like, hey, Tati won't text me back. After she's done filming, will you get her to text me back? And he's not texting James back. So in a panic, again, they're not talking to him. James decides he is going to upload an apology to Tati. It's just a page with some text on it that talks about how much he cares about Tati and how he's so sorry if he hurt her. Because even though they didn't have a peer-to-peer friendship, they did have a strong relationship. They did have a strong bond. It just was more of a parent-child relationship rather than peer-to-peer, which sets itself up differently in people's minds than peer-to-peer. But it doesn't mean there's any less amount of caring or love between the people. It's just a different kind. The Instagram story reads, I want to publicly apologize to my close friend Tati. She has been like a mother to me since my first days in the industry and has given me more love, support, resources, and advice than I could ever ask for. This weekend, I did an Instagram story for sleep vitamins that I've been taking because the brand helped me with security when the crowd around me at Coachella became unsafe. Just as a side note, I do think that this is a lie and that he had never used those gummy vitamins before in his entire life, because he said multiple times in private text messages with Tati that he wasn't even interested in working with Sugar Bear Hair. I think he just said that because he had to say that because he had said that in his Instagram story that he was taking them, but I don't think he actually was.
But most importantly, I've been dealing with a lot of anxiety recently, and it always comes late at night when I'm laying in bed thinking, which is not fun or fresh. So I've been taking these 30 minutes before bed, and they've been really, really helping. So if you guys want to check them out, you can swipe up.
I don't have proof of that, obviously, but just putting 2 and 2 together, I don't think he was actually taking the vitamins. Anyway, let us continue. This weekend, I did an Instagram story for sleep vitamins that I've been taking because the brand helped me with security when the crowd around me at Coachella became unsafe. I did not accept any money for the post, and there's no evidence that he did accept money for the post. As most of you know, Tati has a vitamin brand which I take on a daily basis, but in the moment, I did not think about the competition, which was a major oversight. I've supported Tati both online and off, like she has done for me, and am devastated that I hurt someone that I truly love and have endless respect for. But James's life has to go on. He's tried to contact Tati, he's tried to contact her husband, no one's getting back to him, so he just has to move on with his life. And he has a big thing coming up that he announces in a video called Making My Own Starbucks Pinkety Drinkety. He announces the Sisters Tour. And the Sisters Tour was an opportunity for him to perform for his fans, have activities on stage for his fans. I imagine this was similar to what Colleen Ballinger was doing with Miranda Sings. It was something that some influencers were just doing back then. I don't know if they still do or not. I'm not that tuned in. But what you need to know is that these tickets were going on sale in 2 days, and the prices, the original prices for this were $60.50 for general admission, all the way up to $551.50 for the Ultimate Sisters package. And when people saw that, they absolutely freaked out. They were like, who do you think you are? You think people are gonna pay $550 to come see you and meet you? Like, that is absolutely ridiculous. So James ended up going back to his team and trying to get them to lower the prices, which they eventually did. But not that much. The admission tickets ended up being $52.50 just for the seats, or you could upgrade to the $99 VIP ticket, where you would get a meet and greet with James and take a picture with him. You would also get better seats, and you would get preferred access to merch. I don't know what that means. I guess they had an order, like the people that paid the highest tickets got to buy the merch first. So if anything sold out, it would go in order with how much you paid for your ticket. So by general admission, some things were probably likely to have been sold out. So the more you paid, the more chances you had to buy from a wider variety of James Charles merchandise. And you also got an autographed tour poster. Now, if that wasn't enough for you, you could upgrade again. The price for the next level was 2.5 times the price of the VIP at $250 a ticket. You got all the VIP stuff, plus you got a goodie bag worth $100 of James's favorites. You also got a chance to be brought on stage for interactive segments and even better seating and even more preferred access to the merch. But if you were all out and you were the Ultimate Sister, you could get the Ultimate Sister VIP experience for that $500. This got you all of the same things that everyone else got, but you also got a private catered hangout and Q&A with James, $150 extra of James's favorite, so $250 worth of stuff in the goodie bag, a chance to get your eye makeup done by James on stage, front row seats, and first access to the James Charles Tour merch. People were still real irritated with these prices. I mean, in hindsight, thinking about it, are they really that unreasonable or outrageous? I honestly don't think so. Is that weird that I don't think they're that outrageous considering all of the things that you got for those tickets? You have to let me know what you think, whether you think this is outrageous. I mean, I get, factoring in that it's James Charles, like I get it, but you really did get a lot for that $500. Anyway, moving on, what James did not know is that as he's getting ready for the Sisters Tour to launch for tickets, a big storm is brewing behind the scenes. Tati and JW are not talking to James, but they are talking to other people. Gage Gomez also felt like his story wasn't completely told in his first video, so he developed a second video. That video is the one that's in black and white. This time he goes into more detail about their relationship, how it started, and really just lays it all out there.
James then saw this as an opportunity to manipulate me as a person who may or may not have been trying to figure things out about their sexuality after the fact of telling him that I was straight multiple times. He then started to begin putting a little bit of pressure on me, of getting to know me without disregarding the fact that I told him I was straight. Because as you all know, this person 99.9, maybe even 100% of the time goes after heterosexual men. He came here, he wanted to hang out. I told him I was busy. His flight got delayed, so then he saw this as a perfect opportunity to hang out, even though I told him I was busy. He then proceeded to get mad at me for not clearing my schedule to meet up, hang out, get food, chill, whatever, talk. He was aware of how I felt about him. He constantly kept telling me while we were hanging out at Coachella that he appreciated that I was always 100% honest with him. If I was ever a little vague, I was never telling him what he wanted to hear, or I was never lying to him. It was always how I felt at the time, and he knew that. So then invited me to Coachella, and I denied the first time he asked me. I denied both times he asked me. He asked me like one day, and the next day after he asked me again. I said no. After I said no, he got mad again and blocked me. I then got in contact with him again after a few weeks and told him I did want to go to Coachella. There were some points where I guess he was not sure how I was feeling, even though I was telling him the whole time I wasn't into, I guess you could say, experimenting at that time. He proceeded to get extremely upset with me because of that and kind of tried to play his emotions and push his emotions onto me to kind of guilt me into trying something that I didn't want to do. And this person has mentioned it to me multiple times when I was there, that all of these scandals drive more engagement and more revenue, just capital on top of capital, and I think it's ironic that I'm the con artist, I'm the clout chaser. You don't think it's possible to be a clout chaser if you're the top dog, like in the industry? You could absolutely chase clout. You create the clout that you bring onto yourself.
This is very important timing because when Gage uploads that black and white video, Tati is actively trying to decide whether she wants to publicly break up with James through her Bye Sister video. She hasn't decided yet whether she's going to upload yet. And Gage's video may have been a pushing factor to get her to upload. What we also didn't know at the time was that Jeffrey was also fighting with himself and deciding whether he wanted to go public with the things that he had heard about how James was treating people. According to drama channel Ashley Kyle, Jeffrey and Ashley were having conversations at this time about James and who he was. He was telling Ashley that James was a predator and that he had proof.
On April 29th, Jeffree Star texted me and said, "There are so many dark things that are going to come to light soon, and none of them involve me. Just buckle up." So I texted him back and I said, "Oh no, I hope not, James. I can't make another video on him in a row, but I'm ready. I've been sent so much stuff today just about him. I'm at a loss." And you guys know that. And I meant that because you guys were so tired of James Charles videos. And he said, "It's all going to come out. Whatever you think that means, it's 10 times worse. He's a monster." So I said, "Oh my God, Jeffrey, you have me shook right now. You were so close to him." And he said, "We all were. Shane, Tati, the Dolans, Emma, we are all done." And I said, "Wow, that's disappointing. I had a lot of hope for him." And then you see the next text message and it says, "Oh my God, that's disgusting." Well, that's because Jeffree Star had sent me a voice note. Now, in that voice memo was when he basically said to me that James Charles was a point blank period. He did not go into details at the time, but that was what he implied. So I said, "Oh my God, that's disgusting." And he said, "We're all questioning if he has a soul."
He's telling Ashley that shit is about to hit the fan and that James's friends are starting to turn on him, including the entire sister squad, Emma Chamberlain, Ethan, and Grayson Dolan. And of course, he tells Ashley that Tati is also done with him.
So on May 1st, Jeffree Star texted me again and he said, "It's far from over. Gage got out safe." And that was after we had uploaded our video where James had sent us all of the text messages between him and Gage. So he said, "Wait for the others." He said, "Shane and I feel like this weekend something bad is going to happen with all of this. James is playing with so much fire right now." He goes on to say, "Manny 2.0 calling it now. Wait for someone to upload their video on James this week. you're going to gag.
Which I can only assume is Jeffree talking about that he thought that Bye Sister was going to go live. And this may be evidence that what Tati was saying about Jeffree manipulating her behind the scenes may have been true, that Jeffree was talking in Tati's ear about James being a predator and telling her that he had all these people were turning on him and everything was coming out. Gage had come out and told his story, and Jeffree assured Tati that more people were going to come out. And as Gage's video starts to get traction, there are other people on the internet, verified, unverified accounts, people saying that they also had inappropriate interactions with James. So this statement that I'm about to read, the person said this actually wasn't real, but this is what she said at the time, and this is what Tati and everybody else watching thought was real. The account said, throwback to when James Charles catfished the entire soccer team in high school pretending to be a girl so he could get pics. So glad to know he's still predatory. As if life wasn't complicated enough for James during this time period, on May 2nd, he gets a random text message from Sam, the waiter from Seattle, also known as the busboy from Bellevue. He gets this text message. But what James doesn't know, he may have suspicions, but he doesn't know, this is a trap. Sam tells James that he's changed his mind, that he regrets his decision, and that he is gay, and he does want to open up that communication and possibly be in a relationship with him. James responds, hey, I can't be in a relationship with you right now. He had a lot going on, legitimately. But Sam's goal isn't to actually get in a relationship with James. It's to get unblocked because he's trying to trap James into saying something that he can then put on social media to expose him. Sam asks to be unblocked after a friendly conversation, and James decides to unblock him. Sam decides then to call James, which Sam then illegally records. So when Sam gets on the phone with James, he right away asks him, hey, were you seeing Gage at the same time you were talking to me? And James is clearly not in the mood for this. He is going through a lot right now, and he is not putting up with it. I don't want to play it for you because it was recorded illegally. So just know that it is a recording of Sam holding his phone and someone recording Sam holding his phone, and James just like rubbing his face like, what the dude, like, I just, was I seeing Gage? Not at that moment, whatever. And basically, James ends up hanging up on him. About 10 days later, Sam actually puts this illegally recorded clip in the video that he puts up talking about his relationship with James. But we're not quite there yet because we have two other players that are now going to enter the chessboard, and that's Gabriel Zamora and Nikita Dragon. It's important to know that Gabriel and Nikita have now been through a lot together. They were part of Dramgeddon 1 with Manny MUA, Laura Lee, and of course Jeffree Star. But Gabriel and Nikita are very good friends. And Gabriel had gotten a reputation for keeping it 100. It was his whole thing that he was going to be the one to be honest and real and tell the truth. So Gabriel, being on that truth quest, uploaded a video called Makeup and Opinions. And about halfway through the video, he starts talking about Tati and James.
Holly Sonne. James betraying Tati and having his mom do his dirty work. I guess I'm confused. And this is just me. I don't get where the betrayal was. Like, if we're keeping it 100, this is just my opinion, and I'm just going based off of, let's first go based off of what we just seen on the internet, right? IG stories were posted. Moments later, she's crying on the internet. There's no communication, personal communication behind the scenes. It's made out to be this big, thing. James apologizes on IG stories. Correct me if I'm wrong down below. He apologizes on IG stories. Then all these videos are made because it's literally my recommended. Because it's popular videos with thousands of views. Only thing I can think of as to why she was upset is because he posted that Sugar Bear Hair thing. Well, that's her #1 competitor. And I'm like, well, Sugar Bear Hair was around before her. Homeboy is exclusive to her? Do you ever just have time to just dive in? Sometimes I have time, not even gonna lie. And I was like, let me dive into this. Let me explore the situation a little bit more. And I, for some reason, cannot find out what he did. Cool. The only thing I can think of, I'm like, okay, so what did he do to make her cry? Promote Sugar Bear Hair? My favorite thing to do in a situation is always play devil's advocate. I know for a fact that there is a influencer coming out with a vitamin collaboration, and it's not with either brand that we're discussing. And this is someone who, I'm trying to find my nose contour brush. Okay. This is someone who James is friends with. James has had on his channel. So I'm confused as to, wait, so he can't promote that? And even then, I saw a video that said, well, how would so-and-so feel if Gabriel promoted a competitor? Bitch, if I want to promote the KKW brightening powder, or if I want to promote the Dragon Beauty brightening powder, trust me when I tell you, Nikita don't give a fuck. Okay? So that little storyline, we can diminish. It's not even just her crying over vitamins. It's the fact that all these channels and all these people are just continuously like making videos on it, talking about it, making this a thing, and I'm like, really, over vitamins? But because it started publicly, it had to end and be addressed publicly. Does that make sense? So if you're gonna go on the internet and cry and heavily imply that there's a horrible human being and everybody can get what it is, girl, sit on the internet and talk about it then.
Tati would later blame Gabriel Zamora and this video and Gabriel calling her out on the dance floor as the reason why she uploaded, as well as one of the reasons why she uploaded Bye Sister.
And I'm going to share a lot of it with you because I feel at this point that I have to, because Gabriel Zamora decided to drag me out on the dance floor by calling me out by name in a video that he made about opinions in makeup. We're always going to experience heartbreak, and that's part of being human. For me, I always like to say that just because the person next to you is in a full body cast doesn't mean that your broken arm doesn't hurt. Pain is pain. Feel it. Let it go the way you do, process things the way you do, but that's private and that's your business, and no one has any to tell you how to feel. So that was so not right on so many levels. I do live a portion of my life online, so what you guys saw in that IG story, that happens to so many of us. Like, we let our emotions lead because we're creatives, and you have access to this piece of technology that allows you to express, you know, so widely and so quickly. I'm a really, really big believer in hitting the pause button, thinking things through. In that moment, I didn't.
Meanwhile, Sam, having not gotten what he wanted from the illegally recorded phone call, is still trying to get information from James, and he texts him again that he is bi and that he is interested in him. At this point, it seems like James was completely ignoring him, which was probably a really good idea.
This is why in Sam's video, he included a screenshot of me telling him I did not think he was fully straight. This comment had a lot of people really upset and confused as to why I was telling somebody their sexuality, but there's a very simple explanation. Sam and I talked for a very, very long time, and his sexuality, like I said, wavered a lot. Every time that he was a little bit confused, we had open and honest conversations about it, and he always asked me my input, and I gave it to him. I would never out somebody, and I have never, ever tried to manipulate somebody's sexuality, including his, point blank period.
But James is not ignoring his relationship with Tati. He continues to try to reach out to her, to talk to her, to reach out to JW and say, hey, I really need to talk to Tati. And still nobody's getting back to him. At this point, the video that Gage uploaded, the black and white one, is blowing up all over social media. Everybody's talking about it, and James feels like he needs to clear the air. So he puts up this Notes app explanation of his side of what happened with the Gage story. Some people believe him, some people don't, but he has put out his side. I'll put it on the screen for you in case you would like to pause to read. I'm not going to read through the entire thing. It's kind of long, but it's basically just him explaining, like I said, his side of what happened. Because James is trying to move on. He is trying to close this chapter because he has a very big event the next day. On May 6th, James is going to the freaking Met Gala. And if you are not familiar with the Met Gala is an event that is usually only attended by A-list celebrities. Like, think about the biggest movie stars, the biggest TV stars, the biggest people in the fashion industry. That's all who's invited to this thing. And this year, they've invited some of the biggest influencers, and James was on the invite list, and he has to go to the Met Gala with all of this going on the very next day. And he's got to just pull it together and go, because this is a huge event and a huge opportunity for him. Unfortunately for James, Jeffree was not going to let James have a good day. He just wasn't. He puts out a tweet that he has a draft of things that he wants to say, but he's not going to say it because he's going to let karma do its work instead. Of course, I'm sure creating a ridiculous amount of anxiety in James. He's like, what the heck is Jeffree going to say? Like, what do you mean letting karma do its thing? Like, what does he happened. And he has to go to the Met Gala like that. He probably wouldn't have seen it except for that James admits that he was constantly on his phone and people were tagging him in Jeffrey's post because people assumed that he was talking about James, which it looks like he absolutely was. So James, trying to solve this, trying to check it off because so he can go enjoy the Met Gala, he tries to contact Jeffrey and is like, hey, can we talk? And Jeffrey declines. And then that night, literally, as James is getting ready for the Met Gala, he gets a text message from Jeffrey. And Jeffrey accuses James of talking shit about him behind his back. James denies it. And besides being about to go to the freaking Met Gala, he also is flying out the next day to Australia. So he has this like little window of time where he can meet with Jeffrey in person after the Met Gala, but before he leaves for Australia so they can talk in person. But of course, Jeffrey doesn't take him up on it. I mean, no matter how much I am not a fan of James Charles, you can't say the kid didn't try. He's trying to fix all of this behind the scenes and nobody will talk to him. And we have the text message proof that he did try. So post Met Gala, everybody's making fun of James's outfit, which I'm not a fashion person, but just know people were making fun of his outfit, so he was dealing with that as well. And he leaves and he flies out for this event in Australia. 3 days later, James texts Jeffrey again and is like, hey, I'm in Australia, but I'd really like to FaceTime you. Can we just at least FaceTime and talk about this? And again, Jeffrey won't talk to him. On this same day where James is trying to talk to Jeffrey on FaceTime, Tati is still stewing over whether she wants to upload Bye Sister or not. She thinks she wants to upload it, but she's nervous. She's nervous of how it's going to affect James. So she calls up Shane Dawson or texts him. I think she said she texted him and said, hey, I'm worried about James. He is in Australia. He's in a hotel. He's on a high floor.
The night before posting my video, Bye Sister, I texted Shane sharing my concerns for James Charles, that he was out of the country on the high floor of a hotel and I was afraid for him hurting himself. Shane texted me back and said that I should not be nervous about the 50th floor, that James Charles was a narcissist and that he would never do that.
Basically implying that he was too full of himself, too in love with himself to hurt himself. So it seems like this conversation with Shane, possibly conversations with Jeffrey, Gage coming out and telling his story, may have been what Tati needed in order to feel like uploading her video was necessary. Tati made the decision to upload Bye Sister and say goodbye to James forever. I went through Tati's Bye Sister video with a fine-tooth freaking comb. I listened to what she said and took copious notes. 7 pages of notes, because what I realized about that video, having rewatched it with my eyes now, is that she really does skip around a whole lot. And her story is not clear. It's almost a stream of consciousness. And it is filled with a ton of emotion, all kinds of complex emotions, all coming together in this perfect storm that became Bye Sister. For context, when Tati sat down to upload this video, this is coming from a place of a person who is significantly older, who has seen James grow from an insecure 17-year-old all the way to an arrogant, selfish 19-year-old. She's watched this evolution happen and she is not able to get through to him. She feels like she's been trying to mentor him, try to give him advice, try to tell him what to do and what to do in order to help his career, in order to help him to not make mistakes, in order to help him not to continually get canceled. And James is ignoring her. He seems to feel like he knows better. And it kind of is reminiscent. The way he treats Tati is kind of like the way he treated Marlene Estelle, in that when Marlene Estelle got that Netflix deal for the documentary, James thought he knew better and attacked Marlena publicly. And this is more of a private version, that he hears Tati, but he's not listening to her because he feels like he knows better. That's the vibe going into Bye Sister. She has told him over and over again to stop messaging guys on social media. He's not listening. She has told him over and over again to stop going after guys who tell him that they are straight. He is not listening. She thinks at the time that Sam was clear about saying that he was straight and James didn't listen. She hears that Gage is saying that James was laying on this huge guilt trip when he said he wasn't interested. This is lining up with things that Tati has seen in the past. She has told him that it is going to bite him in his bulbous ass, and he is not listening, and she doesn't know how to get through to him. And she is currently actively watching James's social life implode before her eyes, and she believes it's because James didn't listen to her. And one thing to back up that there is a history of this is actually a text message between Sam and James, where Sam is breaking up with James essentially and saying he's not interested. He says to James, "Hey, so I took some time to think about it. In all honesty, I'm pretty sure I'm straight, but I've really enjoyed talking and getting to know you, and maybe that confused me. I don't want you to think I'm leading you on or using you because I'm pretty sure that's happened to you in the past." And Tati has said, and James has said, that this has happened to him in the past, where he has gone after someone and they seemed interested and then they just weren't. But the thing is that's just dating life. That was basically my entire life from the time I was 18 after I graduated high school until I met my husband. It was all about meeting someone, realizing you don't fit for one reason or another, and both of you moving on. That's just the way dating goes. And sometimes it can happen pretty quickly between different relationships, especially when you're younger and out there and actively trying to date, along with a huge pool of people who are also actively trying to date. But each one of these rejections seemed to be hitting James really hard. And the way he was going about it, Tati felt was very inappropriate. Tati says later that one of the reasons why she uploaded Bye Sister was because Jeffrey had played for her a voice memo of a person who she felt had been victimized by James.
I struggled with the decision to film my video for days. The night before I did film, Jeffrey sent me what he claimed was an audio file from an alleged victim and told me to listen to the pain in their voice. The audio was clearly a small portion of a larger conversation. It wasn't enough for me to contact the authorities. It was enough to scare me. As a victim of abuse myself, I know how terrifying it is to think of facing public humiliation and legal proceedings. It wasn't my place to contact authorities. It was not my place to contact authorities or the alleged victim, and I made no mention of it in my video.
She said specifically that it wasn't enough to alert the authorities, but it was enough to scare her. This is a voice memo that's going to pop up because Jeffrey shares this with quite a few people when he's sharing his receipts. It's going to pop up more in the story. What you need to know about this voice memo is that we still don't know who it is talking on this voice memo about how James had harmed them. We don't know how James had harmed them. The speculation is that this may be Grayson Dolan or another YouTuber, but we do not know who is on this message. This voice note seems to be Jeffrey's main piece of evidence against James. After studying this for over a month now, what I see, and maybe it's just because I am a parent, is that I see a parent who is looking at their child and seeing their child go down the wrong path, and the child isn't listening, and you're just watching them just do all the wrong things, and because you care about them, you want to stop them from doing this. This kind of reminds me of the clips that I've seen on social media where there's a small child and they're doing something they're not supposed to be doing, and the parent is like, "Please stop, can you please stop doing that?" And they're speaking in a really nice way, and the child continues to do the thing. But then the parent screams, "Stop," or whatever it may be. The child stops, and they look, and then they don't do the thing anymore. I think that was what Bye Sister was meant to be. It was the he's not listening and I need to get his attention so he stops this behavior. This was the scream. Beyond that, Tati sees this as a general disrespect and a lack of a reciprocal relationship. Tati feels like she has poured so much into her James, so much work and so much effort into her relationship with him, and he is just not respecting her.
Obviously, so many of you guys understand that this is more than just a sponsored post. It has layers. There's so much going on with James Charles right now that I do not support, that I do not agree with. Fame, power, and a fat bank account will change almost anyone. And if you don't have people that will tell you to your face that you're doing the wrong things, you will change. And I tried to be that person for you, James. I really tried. I don't think there's any getting through to you.
And he's not giving that back, and she's taking that personally. And then when James takes that Sugar Bear hair sponsorship, that is the stab in the back that really solidifies that they are not friends. She feels he stabbed her in the back to take care of himself. And she takes that very, very personally. So like I said, I watched My Sister all the way through. I took 7 pages of notes, and what it boils down to, the reason why Tati says in that video that she is sharing the story boils down to 2 things. Number 1 is the narrative of personal responsibility, and number 2 is the narrative of saving her own ass. Are these the real reasons? Is this the whole story? I honestly don't think so. This is just what she tells everyone. This part I found absolutely fascinating, because in my 46 years of life, I've noticed something about people. And I don't know if this is some psychological theory that's already been discussed ad nauseum. I don't know if this is a thing that's just in my mind, or if this is basically what I've noticed is that when people are passionate, when people are emotional, and they talk about a situation, the beginning of speaking about it is based in that emotion. It is based in the anger or the frustration or the disappointment. But the more the person talks, the more they start hearing it, what they're saying, the more they're working out the situation in their own head. And the more you get toward the end, the more the real reasons come out, because they're kind of figuring it out in real time. And I think that's what's happening with Tati and By Sister. In this video, Tati is realizing in real time who she thinks James Charles has become. She starts off By Sister in the passion part, in the emotional part, with 2 reasons why she's making the video. The first one is because she feels like, as a public figure, if she makes a big change in her life, like ending a friendship, she owes it to her audience to tell them and let them know.
I feel when you put aspects of your life out online, that at some point you are going to have to address them if you make a radical shift.
I don't know. That's just what she said. The other thing she said was that she felt like Gabriel Zamora called her out on the dance floor when he made his video about makeup and opinions.
And I'm going to share a lot of it with you because I feel at this point that I have to, because Gabriel Zamora decided to drag me out on the dance floor by calling me out by name in a video that he made about opinions and makeup.
But as the video goes on, I think we get to the crux of why Tati created By Sister, and it was because she was afraid of losing everything. She had heard from someone, I would think it might have been, possibly could have been Jeffree Star and or Shane Dawson, that James was talking to drama channels about her behind her back, and that James was about to come out with something that could hurt her career. And in order to save her own ass, she decided to talk first.
I knew that I needed to talk to James, and I was planning on hopping in my car and, sitting down with him, but I changed my mind very, very quickly when I found out that he had been giving his side to drama channels. He had been in contact with plenty of them. I immediately knew that this was all about damage control and had little to do with his care for me, because I just don't think that he does. And it just was the timing of it all, off the heels of me finding out about ways that you've been behaving that I don't agree with, for you to lie to me and make me the villain and go around and circulate a story to work on your side, saying that I'm loving the drama because it's improving sales. That's not the case. You're my family. I love you still. This is not about money at all. At all.
Many motivations can be true at the same time, but they're going to have different levels of intensity, and fear in all humans is an excellent motivator. I think she was panicked, and I think she was afraid, and I think she believed what she was being told, and in that she made absolutely the wrong decision. In the time that Tati knew James, she had seen the slow evolution into a person that she did not like. The person that we have shown throughout the series that James was showing himself to be. I do not have evidence for this, but I believe that Tati felt that James had gone so far that he would turn on her to protect himself, that he had become so selfish and so self-centered and so arrogant and so know-it-all that he would turn on Tati and he would ruin her to save himself. So I believe a big reason why she created By Sister was to save her own ass from the monster that she had watched be created by social media. And it worked for her for a little while. Do you remember when I said in the beginning that we had established in previous episodes of this series that James saw social media as a game to be won, and how you win is through gaining followers, gaining high power friends, and gaining money? All of that was crashing down for him. After By Sister, he was losing the game. He started losing followers and losing followers fast. His celebrity friends started unfollowing him. And I imagine, I don't have proof of this, but I would imagine he was losing brand deals and sponsorships. He definitely was losing his potential to earn money through Google AdSense, because if all of these subscribers are unsubscribing, that means they're no longer going to watch his videos and he won't earn as many views and therefore earn as much money. This is when the live streams started that I was talking about earlier, where people took the Social Blade, active Social Blade live subscriber counts, and there was a live feed that you could watch actively and watch James's subscriber number go down and Tati's subscriber number go up. It was a thing. Everybody was watching it like it was a fun game, while James's life was literally being destroyed. As reported by Entertainment Tonight, he lost nearly 2 million subscribers in 2 days, which was a YouTube record. In the same time period, also according to Entertainment Tonight, Tati gained 3 million subscribers. People that were unfollowing James at the time included Kim Kardashian, Kylie Jenner, Demi Lovato, Miley Cyrus, Katy Perry, Ricky Dillon, Iggy Azalea, and possibly one of the most painful for James, his celebrity crush, Shawn Mendes. And of course, he was unfollowed by friends of his, Jeffree Star, and the entire Sister Squad, Emma Chamberlain, Grayson, and Ethan Dolan. I do not have an exact timeline of when these people unfollowed him. It could have been other times. All we know is that when all of this went down, none of those people were following James anymore. So shit is actively hitting the fan right now, and James is rightly upset about all of this happening. And in a panic, in emotions, he created a video called Tati. In that, James apologized to both Tati and to her husband.
I owe everybody an explanation, but most importantly, I owe 2 important people an apology. To Tati and James Westbrook, I'm sorry for everything that is going on and everything that I've put you through over the past few weeks. Her and her husband have given me so much love and advice and opportunities and a place to stay and a shoulder to cry on at 3 a.m. and support when nobody else would or wanted to. And I'm so disappointed in myself that I ruined a relationship that did mean so much to me, even if I didn't do the best job of showing it all the time. And throughout all of this, what sucks the most is that I know there's nothing I can say or do to ever earn that friendship or trust back.
It's important to mention here that James in this video sticks by his Coachella Sugar Bear hair story of how all of that went down.
In regards to the Coachella situation with the brand deal and the security guard, I've already told my truth about this twice. And instead of talking about it for a third time and explaining it and going into detail and pulling up receipts, it doesn't matter. And I understand that no matter what I say or do, there are always going to be people that don't believe me and will think that I'm lying. And that's okay. At this point, the truth really does not matter. It's the feelings that do. And no matter what happened, I hurt two very, very important people. And they've been really, really loyal to me, and I betrayed that. And it sucks, and I wish more than anything that I could take it back.
Regarding the boy situation, he says he wishes he hadn't talked about it, that he's learning to interact with boys that he's interested in and ones that he should be talking to, and that he should have been more careful bringing this into the public eye specifically.
Boys have been a topic that I've talked a lot about on my social media journey, and it's a topic that I wish I hadn't. I've been involved with a lot of very unique and strange situations that have left people confused or upset, and I've learned the hard way about ways that I can interact with boys that I'm interested in, and also ones that I should or shouldn't be talking to.
He tried to warn him that this was going to happen and that he didn't listen.
But coincidentally enough, Tati really was one of the people to sit me down and tell me how it looked from the outside, and let me know, hey, talking to these boys might get you in trouble one day. And she was right.
James breaks down in tears when he mentions his mom, because apparently his mom was going on social media trying to defend him, and James tearfully asks his mom not to do that.
In regards to my own mother, I know you want to defend me and fight for me and go off on comments, but I ask that you don't. This is my problem that I got myself into, and this is my job to deal with this. Mom, I need you to know that you're the most important person in my life, and that you are an amazing mother.
He then ends the video praising Tati, saying that she is an amazing person who wants the best for everyone around her, and he says he's disappointed in himself that he hurt her.
And the same thing goes for Tati as well, who is an amazing person and truly does want the best for everybody around her. And I'm so disappointed in myself that I hurt her.
This video, Tati, is very important in the story because it really shows James's mindset after all of it went down. His mentor, the person that has helped him so much, the person that he's become close to ever since the beginning of his YouTube career. He went and did Tati's makeup for her wedding, for goodness sake. They've been close. He has now hurt her, and she has come out and publicly just blasted him that she's that hurt, that she is killing his career. And he is absolutely devastated. But like anything, we go through different ranges of emotions. We feel one way, and then that can develop into feelings that are completely different. But I'm getting a little ahead of myself. So the same day that Tati uploads Bye Sister, the same day that he uploads his video Tati, Jeffree Star is communicating with James. He's sending him text messages, and those text messages are adding fuel to the fire. Jeffree texts James and says, I know that you trapped Sam in your hotel room. I know you psychologically tried to force him to stay when he didn't want to stay. We don't know if Jeffree is just straight up making this up or if that's a story that he told Jeffree, because Sam, we see the text message between them and we know that didn't happen, but Jeffree is telling James that it did. And I can't imagine why Jeffree would tell James that unless he truly believed it. So Sam's story seems to be part of the reason why Jeffree believes that James has been participating in this predatory behavior. He may have told Tati this, and this may have been another reason why she uploaded Bye Sister, because it sounds like possibly Sam may have lied to Jeffree about what happened. So on top of Sam's story, on top of Gage's story, on top of Tati's story, on top of losing millions of followers in 2 days, James has to go to work because there is a ribbon cutting ceremony. Remember, he's still in Australia and he has to go to the Morphe store and cut this ribbon. Hello, editing Jen back again. I realized I made a mistake here. I actually got the Australia event mixed up with the Morphe ribbon cutting that happened in England that we talked about in part 2. So what this actually was a pop-up shop for sisters apparel that he was doing. So the pop-up shop was supposed to be there until May 17th. And the reason why he was in Australia was to launch this pop-up shop and do a meet and greet. When I was filming, I was confused. So when I say that it was a Morphe event, it was actually a sisters apparel pop-up shop. Just wanted to clarify that real quick. All right, back to the video. He shows up 2 hours late, but he gets there, and with a smile on his face, he cuts the ribbon on the Morphe store. After the ribbon cutting, James goes back to his hotel room, and this is when James says that his friends stopped him from making the irreversible decision to end his life.
A year ago today, it's officially my scandalversary, woo! A year ago today, May 11th, I was on the Gold Coast in Australia, and I woke up at 4 in the morning, and my whole world got turned upside down, and it, began the worst few weeks, months, year of my entire life. But in a weird, really fucked up way, I'm almost glad that it happened because I feel like I'm the strongest and most happy and motivated that I have ever been in my entire life because of it. And I'm really grateful. I'm grateful for my team for always helping me and pushing me to, get up and just work my ass off. I'm helpful to my best friends, especially the ones that were with me in Australia that kept me from making a really, really dangerous, irreversible choice that I would not have been able to take back. Because if it weren't for them, I would not be alive today. And they know who they are. And I'm just really fucking happy to be here, to be working on exciting projects that I'm proud of, to be happy, to be surrounded by amazing friends and amazing business partners, and most importantly, amazing followers.
The thing is about this is that this was not the end of it. It actually was going to get worse for James because more people started coming out with their James Charles stories. Some of them that we don't know whether they're true or not. The person says they're true. And some people that came out with a story and then ended up later saying that it wasn't true. So for example, singer Zara Larsson came out with a tweet saying that James hit on her boyfriend, even though James knew he was straight. After getting over 500,000 views on Twitter, Zara deleted the tweet and said, "Oh, sorry, I didn't have the right information. James actually only texted him once, and when my boyfriend didn't respond, he didn't respond either, and that was the end of it." And what really sucks about this is that the people like Sam and Zara, who their stories ended up being not real, took away credibility from stories that may have been real. So for example, singer Sebastian Javier tweeted that he went to an escape room with James, that he was, quote, constantly trying to be touchy with me. And then he went on to say that James made him feel uncomfortable at his house. So if Sebastian was telling the truth, which we don't have any reason to think that he wasn't telling the truth, the fact that there were people that we knew were lying at the time then kind of discredited Sebastian's story, whether it was true or not. We also had freaking Jeffree Star out there on May 12th tweeting calling James a danger to society and congratulating Tati on her growing following. He put up a whole video that was very similar to the video he had put up about Dramgeddon 1 when his friends were getting called out for bad behavior in the past. He puts up a video very similar about James gloating.
Hold up. Also, I just logged onto the internet for the first time today and I'm like, oh my God, huge congratulations to Miss Tati Westbrook for hitting 8 million subscribers on YouTube. This is just the beginning for you, baby. I miss you, I love you, and I cannot wait to see you when I'm back from Michigan. So congrats. Mwah! I love you. Life has a really funny way of doing things sometimes, you guys, doesn't it? the phoenix always rises out of the ashes.
And while Jeffree was reveling in James's downfall, Tati was distraught. She was upset. She knew that this person that she cared about was going through some terrible things. And legitimately, it was all her fault. But at that point, she couldn't put the cat back in the bag. That was it. It was out there. There was nothing she felt like she could do other than tweet out that she was heartbroken. And I'll put, the tweet on the screen for you to read on your own if you'd like. But basically, she's just really upset that all of this is happening. But she's standing by what she said. And then James took another hit because Sam, the busboy from Bellevue, uploaded his first video explaining what happened with James. There are some lies in there that Sam admits are lies later, including that he says that James was the worst kisser he ever kissed. I mean, can you imagine?
Throughout the night, James and his friend and everyone, they just kept looking at me, but especially James. And he was looking at me. Later on that night, he started talking to the other employees about me, asking me if I had a Valentine. 'Cause this was on Valentine's Day. And he kept asking the waiters if I was single and that they thought I was very attractive. Or he especially thought that I was very attractive and he wanted to get my phone number and all that. But the wait staff at my restaurant didn't let that happen. The next day, my sister convinced me to direct message James Charles, and I did. We can throw the screenshot up here somewhere in post. We proceeded to talk for a while. It was his last night in Seattle. He actually invited me out to his hotel. At that time, I was bi-curious. I had never done anything with a guy before, and I was curious. We ended up watching a movie, and after that movie, he asked to kiss me. And I was very nervous because I had never done anything with a guy, and I was bi-curious, so I said yes. And we ended up making out for around an hour, and if I'm being honest, he's the worst kisser I've ever kissed. Way too much tongue. Yeah, but besides that, so he didn't want me to leave from the hotel room, and he kept telling me to stay, like, please stay, don't leave me, all this and that, but I really wanted to go home, so I left.
To me, I feel like that was kind of unnecessary, and knowing what we know now, that Sam was literally just doing this for clout, that makes sense that he would say something like that about James, whether it was true or not. But believe it or not, it gets even worse. In the timeline, we are at May 13th, and it's been a little over 2 days since all of this went down, and James is asleep in his bed. It's after midnight, and he's woken up by a phone call from his brother, Ian, and Ian is very upset. Ian had tweeted out earlier in the day, "Why does everyone act so tough over the internet?" And Ian says, and James says, that the reason why he tweeted this was because he was going through some things in his personal life, and he was just very upset. But Jeffree Star thought it was about him. Jeffree Star thought that Ian was specifically talking about Jeffree being so tough over the internet. So Jeffree quote tweets Ian and says, "Why is your brother a predator? Why'd you really move back to NYC?" Exactly. Shut the fuck up. James calms his brother down, and he either falls back asleep or he's still awake when at 2 a.m. he gets a text from Jeffree. And the text from Jeffree tells James that things are about to get a lot worse. Jeffree's text says that Grayson, Zach, who is Jeffree's boyfriend Nate's little brother, Zach, so Grayson, Zach, and Sam are all making videos exposing how inappropriate he was with them. Jeffree also sends a text to James's friend Drew, for whatever reason, I don't know why, telling Drew that he shouldn't support James because James is a pedophile and a predator. The next day, Shane Dawson chimes in on social media and talks about tea poisoning. I'll put his whole post on the screen in case you'd like to pause to read. But then something happens that James doesn't expect. He gets a text from Sam apologizing. Sam is upset. He realizes what he has done and he promises James that he is going to make a video apologizing and setting the record straight.
Sam Cook, the boy from Seattle, has called me 9 times and sent me a few different text messages about the situation, trying to make things right.
I don't know what it was that flipped in Sam to make him make this decision, but based on the text messages that we later see, Sam and James, everything was consensual, and they know that. They both know that. So I don't know what flipped in Sam to make him change his mind and want to tell the truth, but something has changed. And it's not just Sam that's planning to come to the rescue. James has other friends too. A lot of people have asked me through this series, how does James still have fans? Why does he still have a platform? And I honestly believe that part of the reason why he still has a platform today is because of this part of the story, of how he was redeemed from all of the accusations that happened back with Bye Sister. 4 days after Bye Sister, James is still leaking subscribers. He is gushing subscribers, literally hundreds of subscribers every second. James is losing, but he has to fly home. So he goes to the Brisbane airport to take his flight. And there is the Daily Mail or someone that ended up sending the video to the Daily Mail, but they're videotaping, they're filming him like paparazzi, asking him, what's going on with Tati, blah, 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 like all up in his face. Mainstream media has picked up this story and everybody seems to be calling James Charles a predator. But not everyone is against James, because there are people that know pieces of the story that are ready to speak out, and the first person that does is Nikita Dragun. Now, if you want to know a little more about Nikita Dragun, I did do a full video on her. She's very entertaining and actually quite awful, so in this situation, though, I do believe she's being very honest. So she, of course, is the one that hooked up James with Sugar Bear hair. And Tati has accused James of making that whole story up about being in danger at Coachella. But Nikita has the receipts of when James contacted her. So she posts those publicly on the internet for everybody to see. Gabriel Zamora does an interview with 17 magazine where he goes off about Tati. He says, don't say that shit, meaning that James is a predator or that he's a pedophile or whatever. He's saying this to Tati. Don't say that shit, because people really go to jail for that. People really get sued for that. You're omitting information. You're a fraud, Tati Westbrook. You know that there's text messages, there's DMs. We were all in the kitchen talking about the situation. And I think what's really messed up here is that Tati actually never calls James a predator. That was Jeffree Star that did that. That was not Tati. Tati was saying that James was taking advantage of straight boys and trying to convince them that they were gay, which she had seen with her own eyes. And she was being told that this had happened to Sam. She was hearing Gage tell this story, but she never said that James was a predator. That was Jeffree that said that. But the way that Gabriel's talking in this interview, he's saying it as if Tati had said that, which she didn't. So this leads us to Tati's next upload on May 16th. This is 6 days after Bye Sister. The video was called Why I Did It. Though that video is now deleted, I was able to get a copy of it, and I'm so glad, because I do feel like this video adds some context to the situation that if you didn't see this video, or if you don't remember this video, I think it's important.
Really, when I made that video, I thought that I would be the one that would take the hit. You know, I thought I was going against, millions and millions of subscribers, and that my separate part of the internet, my 5 million, because like this is how crazy this has gotten, would be affected, and that I would be the one losing subscribers for speaking up, and that I was going against someone with a lot more power. And I knew that fair well, and I knew this would cause a lot of controversy. I know that, but I didn't think it would get to this magnitude. I didn't think it was possible. And I want to share with you guys that I do really want the hate to stop. I want the picking sides and the abusive memes and the language and all of that. I really hope on both sides it can stop. That's not why I made the video. And I feel like I wanted to share with you guys why I did. This was really a wake up call, and it was me trying to reach someone who I found completely unreachable. And I had been trying to deliver the same message so many times because this wasn't just about one thing. And I think a lot of you guys understand that. And the things that are being zeroed in on with whether it's just about me and my business and a betrayal, or if it's really just like the allegation of the guy in Seattle. And the thing is, it's about a lot. And it's about a lot that I didn't even talk about. It's about someone who reaches across all platforms 30 million people that are children, dominantly children, and who is losing the ability to get honest more and more each day. I'm losing the ability to reach. I really feel the last straw for me was the way I was treated and our relationship was treated, with just zero respect. You know, it was all on his terms, and that showed me that really there was never going to be any getting through face to face on the phone, any of that. And this was just a last ditch effort for me to be really loud and vocal and to wake up someone that I really love and still do, before they go and make some really serious mistakes. And I sat and I was like weighing pros and cons of like, okay, well, like he's doing this. Like, no one's really stopping him. No one's going to get through to him. Like, what this is like going to end badly. And then I will have to sit for the rest of my life and feel like I never said anything. I want you guys to know I don't hate James Charles. I don't want you guys hating on him. I can't even go online right now. It's painful to watch someone that you have cared about be dragged, and to know that this all started because of me. Like, this whole thing is not about me. It's something else. It's something bigger. And I don't need Team Tati. I don't need any of that. I just want you guys to know that there is no celebration in what's happening. And if I could give all of the new success back and the new subscribers back, I would. That's not why I did this. I don't think his career is over. I don't think he's canceled. I think he needs some help, and I think he needs better people around him. And I know I will never be that person again. I hope he seeks out people that have his best interest and not just people on his payroll, because you need that and you deserve that. And you need to be guided. Like, I'm afraid to come across like I know it all and that I'm like Miss Perfect, because I don't know it all, and I fuck up all the time. I really, really hope that you guys see that this is a cut that is much deeper than vitamins. And I felt defensive because I was hearing people say that there was a story about me, and it was just too much all at once. And I did get defensive, and um, I'll defend the things that I believe in and the things that I know I'm doing the right way. I'll do that all day, every day. He did publicly apologize, and I'm just hoping that we can leave it at that and close this up, and that people can drop this and move forward and let some actual healing happen. And I'm going to take a solid timeout. Wow. The internet is the only place where if you cry too much, you're a victim. And if you suck it up and power through, you're a bitch. And I'm just trying to find the middle.
At this point, when Tati uploads this video, everything is raining down on James. He is losing subscribers and she is gaining subscribers. She is, in the internet's eyes, winning the drama. But she comes out in this video upset. It really does seem like she did not, when she uploaded Bye Sister, really think about the consequences of that action, which is super strange that she didn't at least think about that this would be the end of her relationship with James. And I think it goes back to what she says next. I think it was that fear taking over. I think it was that self-preservation. I think that that fear being that stronger motivator didn't allow her to see past what would happen with her relationship with James, because in her mind, she had the best of intentions, that she was just trying to help James. And I don't think that she really thought about that this might be the end of their friendship. There's another clip that I want to play with you that is going to be some foreshadowing for something I'm going to bring up later. And it's when she talks about why she became friends with James Charles. I want you to just kind of put this in your back pocket for later.
You know, I can't say this enough. I love James Charles. I loved him from the moment I met him. I don't know, he was like this underdog kid that everybody took a shit on. Like, that's how I felt for a long time. So I felt like I needed to help him somehow. Like, I need to help him like it was helping me. I know a lot of people are not gonna understand. And a lot of people think this is fake, or that they think that there was this like big agenda or anything. And there's not.
And what's interesting about this video is that this video actually put a band-aid on the leak of James Charles's follower loss. According to 17 magazine, after Tati uploaded this video, James not only stopped leaking subscribers, but he started going up again. This is a little side note about Nikita Dragun, because remember I said that she's not really a very nice person? So when Tati's uploading this video, Nikita actually uploaded a video the same day, and the video was called What Really Happened, and she put up a Twitter post. The Twitter post said, "This is a very hard video for me to make. Please watch until the very end with an open heart and an open mind." And Gabriel is in the thumbnail with her. But the video, not even a moment of this video is about James. It's actually a promotion for her makeup company called Dragon Beauty.
Hey Dragons, what's up? It's Nikita. Welcome back to my channel. So in today's video, I'm going to be talking all things Dragon Beauty. Okay, but anyways, I'm just going to forewarn you guys that this video is utter and complete nonsense. Reading the comments that are all over the internet about Dragon Beauty and, you know, my beauty brand that failed before it even came out.
And this was, in my opinion, a very strategic video, because she starts off talking about Dragon Beauty, but we all know that Gabriel Zamora is going to come in at some point, and maybe at that point she's going to talk about James. But when Gabriel comes in, he's just like eating food and like hanging out, and like nothing ever happens.
The community is not liking her products. They are overpriced and it's not universal, and the powder make darker skin tones such as myself look ashy. Honestly, we expect more from Nikita. And I just wanted to keep it real for a second. In honor of Gabby, keeping it 100.
Nothing ever happens. It was the true definition of clickbait, that she set it up like it was going to be what really happened with James, but really it was what really happened to launch her makeup company. This video got over 2 million views, and just to stress the reaction people had to this video, Nikita, who doesn't do this often, actually turned off the like to dislike ratio and also the comments on this video. People were pissed. So even though Nikita did stand up for James and put out the text messages showing and proving that James had gotten that Sugar Bear hair deal the way that he said, Nikita also used the situation in order to get attention on her, get views, and to get more attention on her new brand, Dragon Beauty. So let's skip ahead 2 days. This is May 18th of 2019. Jeffree goes on his Snapchat, and he basically is kind of backing up what Tati said, basically saying, you know, James needed to learn a lesson. There's a reason why I still care about James.
It's been a very crazy week in the beauty community with some of my friends and everything that's going on. So I just want to touch on a few things really quickly. Alright, so all week I've been getting a lot of questions about a tweet that I sent out. Now, after my friend Tati Westbrook uploaded her video about James Charles, A lot of people had opinions. A lot of people that had been feeling some type of way for a while were finally starting to speak out and say things, and I sent out a very big tweet that caused a lot of reactions. I stand by everything I said. I want to start off by saying that. But I do regret, and I don't say that often, but I do regret sending out that tweet. Things on my end could have been handled behind closed doors, 100%. I was very hot-headed. I had seen a lot of disturbing things behind the scenes, and Nathan was really grossed out by a lot of behavior that he saw. He took a trip with me and James, and it went really bad, and things were never the same after that. Me and James started to get distant, and things got really weird, but that doesn't mean I don't love and care about someone. Because I said one sentence does not erase the history we have. It doesn't mean that I don't care about someone. I think that everyone deserves second chances, and I think that sometimes people deserve third and fourth chances. He's young, of course, he needs to grow. There's no, well, he should. No, he needs to grow. And he will learn from this experience 100%.
It's like, I'm sorry, Jeffrey, but if you call someone a predator, you're negating any thought that you care about this person, because why would you care about a predator? Like, why, if James is as awful as you say he is, why would you care about him? Because a predator is a pretty big accusation. Like, it's awful, the things that Jeffrey was saying both publicly and privately about James. Like, why would you want to be friends with somebody like that? And here comes Jeffrey saying how much he cares about James. Super weird. But what Jeffrey didn't know was that James was about to drop a bomb full of receipts. Later that day, James would upload a video that would go down in beauty community history, and it was called No More Lies. Now, I did the same thing with No More Lies that I did with Bye Sister, and I watched it and I took notes. This time 4 pages, not 7. I took 4 pages of notes to try to really break down what James said. And the difference between Tati's Bye Sister and James's No More Lies, the differences are stark. Tati was kind of all over the place. It was very emotion driven, where James was very, this is what happened, here are the facts, nice and linear, easy to understand, and I think that's why it was so well received. I'm just gonna read my notes here of the things that James says in this video. So he explains what happened with Gage at Coachella and how he wanted to attend weekend 2, and he goes over the Sugar Bear Hair partnership again, and he stresses with the screenshots how he tried to contact Tati and her husband and how they wouldn't respond to him. And I think what got a lot of people on James's side was that the thing that he had done wrong, which was DMing strangers, trying to hook up with people and all of that, and you know, making his love life public. He admits that that was not a good idea, and then he says he's not going to do it again.
The whole situation that happened with Sam was very, very long and complicated and left both of us very hurt and confused. And through trying to deal with this, I reached out to many of my different friends for advice. There was one night in my kitchen where Tati, James, and Gabriel all came over, and I told them the same exact story and showed them the same exact screenshots that all of you guys just saw. After hearing this, like Tati said in her video, Tati and James actually did have a heart-to-heart conversation with me about the boys that I get involved with. They told me that talking to curious guys was going to continue to get me hurt, and that also it could look really, really bad from an outside perspective if somebody tried to manipulate the situation. And for me, this was a major, major wake-up call that I took to heart, because I honestly had never thought about it in any other way, because I knew that everything that I was doing was always consensual between both me and the boy, and I had receipts to back it up. But I wish I knew at the time that Tati's advice was really a warning, because she did exactly what she told me someone else may, which was tell my story with no details, no facts, and no proof, and twist it around, and now serious allegations have surfaced that could permanently damage my career. But all my other friends were having their first kiss underneath the playground slide, or getting into their first relationship and talking all about it. And for me, I was on Pop Tropica and social media networks trying to make friends and trying to find out what else I was interested in. I never really got the opportunity to experiment with love and learn from that as a growing teenager, and I think that that's honestly left me kind of underdeveloped as a person in a lot of different ways. But love and relationships is something that I have barely any experience in, and I honestly think that that's why I'm a lot less mature than others may be in the situations that I get myself into. I definitely am emotional and I let that get the best of me sometimes. I can be dramatic, I'm reactive, I'm forward, I'm flirty, and these are qualities that I'm not necessarily proud of at all. But I can confidently say that with each experience, I'm learning more and more, and I've been able to better myself. I do take full responsibility for sending these messages, and this situation has definitely taught me that sending messages that are so forward and direct like this are unacceptable, and I no longer will do that moving forward.
We know that James is going to 100% go back on this promise. He is not going to keep this promise. But at the time, we believed, a lot of people, well, I can't say we, because I don't know if you believed him. I know I believed him, and I know a lot of other people believed him too, that he had learned his lesson, but he absolutely did not. And then James zeroes in on Jeffrey. And unlike Tati, who has been sympathetic and showing that she cares about James, Jeffrey's been gloating this whole time. And I think James knows that, and he handles Jeffrey a lot differently. The nail in Jeffrey's coffin here is James reveals the text messages of how Jeffrey was talking to him and the things he was telling him and the threats and the manipulation that Jeffrey was doing behind the scenes to James, and it made Jeffrey look really bad, as it should have.
I went to check my phone and noticed that Jeffrey had texted me a few minutes prior, and I opened my phone to this. I really want to read this text out loud just so you all get to hear exactly what I had to read, but also so I don't miss anything. Grayson is going on camera shortly to finally tell the world how you tried to molest him and touch him in his sleep and made him uncomfortable for months, you sick motherfucker. Next, Zach will be going on camera to tell how twisted and sick you were, trying to get him to like you and then make him feel bad when he didn't want to send you photos back. Then Sam from Seattle will be joining me and Cameron to talk about you trapping him in his hotel room. You need to be locked in prison for a very long time. You need the internet taken away from you. You are a danger to society. As disgusting as it is, I have to admit, bringing up Grace and Dolan was pretty clever. At the height of all these allegations and stories going around, both of the twins unfollowed me, not wanting to be associated, and fans started speculating that the rumors could be as to why. Too bad that aside from our pre-planned collaborative jokes that happened in the Sister Squad videos, me and Grayson flirting, nothing ever happened between us. And when all this went down, I knew Jeffrey was lying because the twins were two of the first people to call me and make sure that I was okay. I already mentioned Zach, and I still have no idea who the Cameron Jeffrey is referring to in this message is, but he also brought up Sam last, who we also already talked about. Later on that day though, Jeffrey was right. Sam did upload a video to his YouTube channel telling the whole story. He left out almost all the details and included an illegally recorded FaceTime call, which was on May 2nd, told you to remember that. But even through all of this, he still managed to get the point across that our interactions were 100% consensual.
James then ends the video apologizing to his fans and making the promise that he will be better.
On my last few videos, I've definitely noticed quite a lot of comments talking about my ego or my attitude getting the best of me and getting to my head, and I appreciate the constructive criticism and feedback, and after a lot of reflection, I think you're right. I've lost focus, and that sucks so much, but I want to get back to it so badly. Whenever I do come back, I don't know when it is, but I just cannot wait to show you guys a better version of me. To my sisters, I'm sorry if I disappointed you, and I'm really sorry that you had to watch all this go down. You saw a side of me that I'm really not proud of, and that I know I need to work on changing, and trust me, I will be. I recognize the fact that I haven't always been the best role model, and that sucks. I've tried, but I will try way harder. In the spirit of turning something negative into a positive, bye, sister.
And I think, like I was saying earlier, the reason why I think James's video hit so hard is because it was such a contrast to what we had seen before. You know, Jeffrey full of gloating and I have receipts and, you know, he's a predator and all these accusations without any evidence. Tati leading with emotion and crying and upset and I'm just trying to help and all of this with no receipts. And then James just drops freaking all the receipts, all of them on the table. Here it is, boop, 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 boop. And yeah, this is when the tables turned. Well, Jeffrey freaked out.
Hello guys, how are ya? Today, girl, I had some plans today, which will still happen, but got a little derailed by Miss James Charles uploading a very manipulative, weird video of just calculation, girl. I thought maybe he would take some time off of social media, but nope. Right back to uploading, trying to make me seem like I'm something I'm not, trying to paint my character in a light that's very untrue. And you've heard Tati's video. Now, most of you, I'm sure, will see James's today. And I have a lot to say, because I never got to tell my side of the story. I tweeted what I tweeted, and I tried to smooth things over so everyone could be cool behind the scenes, but no. When lies are told about you, when things are misconstrued, it's not okay. So y'all can think whatever you want about this situation, but hold up. I didn't want to have to upload a video. I didn't want this to continue, but when someone comes for you and lies on your name, it's unacceptable. There were so many lies in his video. A lot of people are, what do we believe? You're gonna know what to believe when I really show you the facts, okay? There's screenshots, there's a lot of things that were not presented correctly. I didn't want to have to do this, but I will have to respond to this, and I will show you guys things that I'm sure he never wanted to come to light, but here we are. There are so many things that you guys don't know. And you know me. If you've been following me for a long time, bitch, I am not a liar. All I know is honesty, and I am hurt right now, and I'm sad that first of all, I inserted myself. I already know. But I had a very good reason for chiming in, and there is a lot of stuff behind the scenes that I need to share with you guys. But this is just a whole nother level. This isn't tea. This isn't anything funny. This is real feelings, real people. And if it's gonna go public and I'm gonna be dragged through the mud and lied on, then I gotta come forward with a lot more that I didn't want to share. So you guys, please be patient with me. I'm going to take tonight to enjoy it with Nate and just gather all my thoughts. So I will talk to you all in the morning. Thank you.
He is very angry, obviously. He talks about how he is going to show everyone the facts. Tati came back with more emotions, talking about how she's going to go on a digital break and that she's so disappointed that James's video was littered with lies and half-truths. And she says, again, I stand by what I said in my videos. Because remember, Tati's video is from the perspective of experience. It's also from the perspective of Jeffrey playing her that voice note, telling her that all these people are going to come out with their experiences and all of that. That was what led into Bye Sister. So she's standing by it because she's standing by what she saw and she's standing by what Jeffrey told her. But things were about to turn for Tati because she will soon realize that Jeffrey does not have receipts. The things he told her were never going to happen. Tati says later in a video that that day was the last day that Tati and Jeffrey ever had a conversation, that day was the end of their friendship.
After a few days of Jeffrey fanning the flames on Twitter, no victims appeared as they had stated would happen, and no evidence came forward as they stated would happen. The last time I spoke with either Jeffrey or Shane on the phone was the night before Jeffrey's "Never Doing This Again" video. Shortly after, the relationship dissolved entirely, and I was so confused.
Jeffrey stuck to his guns and he tweeted that there are two sides to every story, but behind the scenes, he's talking to Ashley Kyle. Remember Ashley, the drama channel? He's talking to her behind the scenes and he doesn't know what to do because he's holding on to this voice note. He plays Ashley the voice note, the one that some YouTuber somewhere talking about how James had hurt him in some way. I've never heard the voice note. I don't know if it actually, what's on it, but this is the thing that everybody says is on this voice note. He's played it for multiple people and multiple people have said what is on the voice note. That's what Ashley said was on there. And he asks Ashley, what should I do? Should I play this voice note for the public? This is the evidence. And Ashley's like, it's not your story to tell. You can't play the voice note.
And then we're going to come to May 18th, and that was the day before Jeffrey dropped his video. Now, this is something that I really want to discuss. On that day, I had a phone call with Jeffrey, And he was explaining to me that he had a voice note from a certain someone that I shall rename nameless, and that he didn't know what to do with it. He didn't know what type of video to do the next day. And I told him basically that it's not your story to tell. That's what I told him. It is not your story to tell. And I also told him, but at the same time, without saying it, are you covering for a possible? So I told him that that was a choice he had to make. That was a video choice he had to make, and he had to decide for himself what he was going to do.
And I think that conversation with Ashley was a turning point for Jeffrey because he realized that is literally all he had. He had talked about how Nate's brother Zach had some kind of messages with James, but James had proved in his video that nothing ever happened between him and Zach, and that Jeffrey actually encouraged James to go after Zach. Sam had lied about what had happened to him in the hotel room. The people that Jeffrey said were going to come out publicly were not coming out publicly. So literally, it sounds like from an outside perspective, from what I've seen, all Jeffrey had was this voice note, and Ashley's telling him he can't release it. And Ashley is absolutely right. And Jeffrey knows if he releases this voice note, he is going to be telling a victim's story for them. And he knows that that is not going to be well received by the public. So he literally has nothing.
I know a lot of you are sick and tired of hearing about the subject. I know a lot of you are expecting to get a lot of tea today. I know the whole world is sitting here wondering, what is Jeffree Star going to say next? And I think that this will be one of the most important videos that I ever upload. I have been very outspoken, and sometimes I've spoken too much. And I think that this week was definitely one of those scenarios. Now, most of you have seen some brutal tweets that I sent out last week. A lot of you have seen the vicious text messages that I sent, and I want to let you understand something. Because I said those things, that does not equal me hating James Charles. He has been in my life for a few years now. Are we the best of friends? No. But we had a real connection. I loved and cared about him, and I definitely think I mishandled our friendship. Today, I am not going to give the world what they want. And I don't think that everyone wants this from me, but I think that there is a major portion that thinks Jeffree Star is going to come for James, because I was in a dark place yesterday. I said some things online about pulling receipts and showing things. There are so many things that you guys don't know. And you know me. If you've been following me for a long time, bitch, I am not a liar. All I know is honesty, and I am hurt right now, and I'm sad that first of all, I inserted myself. I already know, but I had a very good reason for chiming in, and there is a lot of stuff behind the scenes that I need to share with you guys. I sat there yesterday and I started to get really angry. I was gonna pull voice memos. I was gonna pull old text messages from other people that don't wanna be involved. And I was just getting into a place where it wasn't healthy, okay? And thank God I'm in the headspace that I am today, because I stopped those feelings, I let them all subside, and I understand that now that isn't okay. I am not going to fuel this fire bigger so everyone can get more entertainment, because behind the scenes, this isn't funny. This is our real lives, and I inserted myself into something publicly that I shouldn't have. And today, I know what people want. They want me to sit here and degrade James. They want me to open up my phone and expose it all. I'm done doing that. And it may be shocking. Some of you may be like, oh, are you just trying to save your own ass? Are you a liar? Are you this? I'm willing to bite the bullet and let anyone think what they want. But today I will not be posting voice memos. I will not be posting text messages. I will not be exposing anything more. This has to stop. Did I jump the gun on a situation that I didn't fully understand and chime in? Absolutely. And I am living with that every day. There's a lot of questions about my tweets, and I want to say that I regret them. I don't regret much in my life, but I regret hitting the send buttons. Before fully accusing an individual of doing anything,
I need more facts. Something that I need to say before this is over is that you guys saw a lot of text messages. There were things being told to me that were never proven. There was a lot of rumors, and sadly, I let that get to me. So, James, I want to let you know that I should have never sent you those messages. I should have been a better friend. I know that now. And even if we weren't close friends anymore, I should have handled it way differently. I will never handle a situation like this again. If anyone wants to continue to try to pick at the situation, to try to get all three of us to say more on my end, I'm not talking about this anymore.
He admits that he didn't have all of the facts. He admits that he should have handled things privately, and everybody's like, what the fuck? Like, what? What happened to all of these receipts? What happened to all of this? And that's what everybody, in my opinion, I think everybody was thinking, is where are all these receipts? That's probably what Tati's thinking. Where are all these receipts you told me existed? They don't exist. At this point, Jeffrey's completely exposed, and he's in this video apologizing. It was a total 180. So now Tati's in a really strange place because she had believed Jeffrey and realized that it was all bullshit. So she releases this text note. This is what it said, and it's really long, but I think it's important to read it all the way out because it provides important context. Here we go. She says, I've been in communication with James Charles through an intermediary for the last week, and we believe that it is in the best interest of our community, our viewers, and our own mental health to put this matter to rest. For that reason, I will not be making any further public comments, and I hope and pray that no one else will make any more hurtful statements on my behalf. In my original video, I felt the need to publicly break up with James, a warning call loud enough for him to hear. I was attempting to explain my upset and concerns so that everyone would understand my position and end the speculation that it was all over vitamins. Over the last 8 years, I built my career based on honesty, integrity, and trying to do what I thought was right. The toxicity and chaos that ensued over the last 10 days was absolutely not my goal, as it was a fight that I was almost certain to lose. Although I do not regret raising my concerns, I completely regret the way I went about saying them. I could have and should have found a better way. Even in this moment, I still have so many things I'd like to clear up. However, the continued call for receipts is nothing more than a call for never-ending bloodshed. As such, I'm setting aside my overwhelming need to be understood and will continue my conversations with everyone in private. I hope that our community is somehow strengthened from all this madness and that we will strive to hold ourselves and each other to a higher standard. To my audience, I need you to know that I'm blessed to have your support and love making videos for you guys. I'm truly sorry for the hate this brought to our doorstep. I love you and look forward to returning to my regular content soon. The problem with this is that people didn't want to hear I'm being misunderstood. People wanted receipts. She had gone through making this video, bye sister, saying that James Charles was this person and that she feared for his future and that she cared about him and all of this. And Jeffrey is saying he's a predator, he's this, he's that. And they never provided any receipts. So to come online and then say, I'm not going to provide receipts. I'm just being misunderstood, but just believe me. Trust me, bro. It's just, it hit totally wrong with people. People were really upset, but the problem was at this point, Tati didn't have anything else because she had no receipts other than the ones she'd already shown. A lot of the things that were concerning to her were patterns of behavior she had seen over time, and there were no receipts for that. It was just her observations. So she literally couldn't give people what they wanted the way that James had. And what kills me about this is because James kind of won this battle, this internet battle between Tati and Jeffrey and him, he continued that behavior of DMing people that didn't want to be DM'd. He escalates that behavior to DMing minors. He admits to that later, that he DM'd minors. There's some really disturbing videos coming up in that part of how upset some of these boys were when James was doing these terrible things. And this was the precursor to it. The fact that he got away with this, the fact that he was not stopped from doing this behavior, it actually got much worse. Because I honestly believe that Tati didn't have evidence that he was a groomer or a pedophile the way that it comes out later. And that's why she didn't say it. That's why she didn't present the evidence. She just saw James making people uncomfortable. She saw James doing reckless things in the DMs and in public and on his social media, things that she thought was going to ruin his career. But I don't think that she had any idea that it would go this far, or like she said in her video in Bye Sister, it was enough for her to be scared, but not enough for her to go to the authorities. Jeffrey was the one that called him a danger to society, but I think people thought that Tati had said that because of what Gabriel Zamora said and because of just the echo chamber of what was happening on the internet. People attributed those words to Tati when she actually didn't ever say those. And Tati comes out later and says that she thought that James was working behind the scenes with drama channels to create a hit piece about her. Where did she get this idea from? She didn't just make it up. Like, why would she do that? Doesn't it make any sense? Why? She wouldn't have been so afraid. She wouldn't have had that fear as a motivator if she didn't believe that James was doing this. Where did she hear that from? I believe, I don't have evidence of this, I don't have proof of this, it is just a belief that Jeffrey told her that. And that was part of why Bye Sister existed. But this part of the story didn't just affect James and Jeffrey and Tati. It also affected other players in the story. For example, Ashley Kyle. On that day, Ashley had a panic attack. According to her, that panic attack sent her to the hospital. And what had happened with her was she realized when Jeffrey did not provide receipts, she realized that he had been lying to her, that he had been telling her that all of this was going to happen, all these people were going to come out, and there was all this evidence and everything. And Ashley believed it and created content against James, made a shit ton of money off of it. And it was this day that Ashley realized that she had made all of that content without actually seeing proof, and she felt terrible about it. She felt so bad about it that it sent her to the hospital. Ashley actually took a break from her channel after that and took some time away. She didn't make any more videos about this particular situation. And when she does come back, she comes back with a video that had actual physical hairy evidence. She made sure of that. In this period of time, Tati deletes Bye Sister. She says that it's because YouTube requested that she delete it because it was making the platform look bad. On June 3rd, Tati tried to come back to her channel, but her audience was not having it. The comments are not kind to her. And on June 16th, Sam, the busboy from Bellevue, uploads his apology video to James and tries to set the record straight, formally just ending the whole thing and declaring James the winner of this internet disgusting battle.
James, the things that I said in my past video are not all true, and I wanted to come clean about it. I, in all honesty, led James on because my friends and family pressured me so much to continue. They went on my phone and they typed stuff out. And I just kind of let it happen. It was hard, but I just kept going with it because I kept saying to myself, it's James Charles. Like, this is crazy. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. He pretty much went on to say he thought I was bisexual. And I mean, I led him on to make him think that, so he's not in the wrong for thinking that. After me and James officially stopped talking, I started thinking, and again, with the pressure I was feeling from my friends and family, I thought I should try to get something out of this whole thing. And then the Gage situation popped up. I was feeling a lot of pressure from my friends and family who was telling me to make a video and publicize it and gain followers, gain whatever I could from it. And so I did. And as soon as Tati's video released where she talked about me as the waiter, I saw it as a perfect opportunity to ride the wave of the hype and the clout that was going on around this situation. We villainized him for our own good, and that is wrong. And I am acknowledging that publicly now. All in all, I was in the wrong by painting James Charles in a bad light for my own benefit. I want to publicly and officially apologize to James Charles for the video.
As for James, the complaints about ticket prices for the Sisters tour and possibly lack of ticket sales, I don't know. I don't know what happened behind the scene. All we know is that James cancels the Sisters tour on May 25th. He says it doesn't have to do with lack of ticket sales. He may just be emotionally exhausted and feel like he can't handle a tour right now, especially with some people still taking Tati's side and Jeffrey's side. He probably just thought that it was just a bad idea to be around a bunch of fans not knowing how they were feeling about him in that moment, which I think it was a pretty smart thing to do, but at the same time, I can't imagine how hard it was for him to cancel that tour. And then James takes a month off of social media. He doesn't post anything for an entire month, which is very unusual for James. He goes back to once again gaining subscribers, and his first video back earns him 12 million views, and he has been redeemed. Seems like everyone has forgiven him and they are happy to see him back. That summer, he attended the MTV Video Music Awards and he relaunched Sisters Apparel. Jeffrey had kicked him out and taken his merch off of his website. James is now relaunching it on his own. All seemed to be well, but it actually wasn't. And it reminds me of my favorite musical. And I know a lot of y'all are not musical fans, but even if you aren't, there's a point here, I promise. So if you're a musical fan, you may be familiar with a musical called Into the Woods, right? Basically, the premise is there's the baker and his wife, and the baker and his wife go into the woods to break a spell cast on them by a wicked witch. And in their journeys in the woods, they have to gather items, like items from Cinderella and Rapunzel and Jack and the Beanstalk and Little Red Riding Hood, and bring them to the witch. At the end of the first act, everything ends happy. Everybody looks like they're going to live happily ever after. But what they don't realize is that when Jack killed the giant, he pissed off the giant's wife. And the giant is about to come down and exact revenge on the cast of characters in the show. And I will tell you, without giving too many spoilers, Act 2 does not end happy for anyone. And I tell all of you this because this, my friend, is the end of Act 3 of James's story. There is going to have to be an Act 4. I did not intend that to have a part 4 of this story. I thought I was going to be able to fit it all together, but as you can see by the length of this video, there's no freaking way that I can tell all of Dramgeddon 3, which is coming, and also the allegations against James for DMing naked pictures of himself to minors. He's admitted that he's done it, and there is video and photo evidence that he did it. I can't do that justice in this video. It's just too much. But what I want to share with you is that I know this one took me a long time to get out to you, but I already have the research done for part 4 of this series, so it shouldn't take nearly as long. Give me like a week or two to pull it together. As long as nothing happens in my life that stops me from uploading it, it really shouldn't take that long for me to pull it together. Like a week or two is what I'm hoping. And what it all boils down to in this part and in the next part, which will hopefully conclude this story, is that it's these patterns of behavior that James has shown that are continuing throughout the thread of parts 1, 2, 3, and then into 4 that really show us who James is as a person. He clearly hasn't been canceled. He is clearly still doing very well for himself. And I think that the redemption story in this piece is the main reason why. I still have so much of the story to share with you, but it's about to get dark, and I hope that you'll walk into the woods with me. See you soon.